Well, very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Flight Deck 2 Sim live stream. Today, the 4th of April 2019, almost 2.5 weeks since the last live stream. As I always say at the start of them, incredibly busy, but I did find myself 2 to 3 hours this afternoon to give you a bit of a catch-up of what I'm up to. I've not actually loaded up the Sim and X-Plane 11. I did yesterday briefly for the first time since basically the last live stream we did, which was from Heathrow to Frankfurt. So we're going to see what ZIBO's been up to. He's done a lot of updates, in fact 10 small updates since we last flew the ZIBO mod. This version is the, let me get this right, 3.34 RC120. So we're about 3/4 of the way getting all the curved lines sorted, I think. I didn't actually realise how much work this was involved with ZIBO there. So there's a lot of changes there. Just before I get started, have a look at the live chat. We've got the usual members here. See Tim Waters, Tim Fraser's in the house as well. Richard Asberg's just made it too. Some of them were talking to me earlier saying they weren't sure if they could make it, but it looks like we've got some people there. We've got Sid Make Studios, I've seen him a few times, Remarkable Lee, and all the usual people, which is cool. So yeah, that's it. It's just going to be a bit of a chilled out stream. We're going to be offline from VATSIB today. There's no ATC coverage. The flight's going to be from Salzburg in Austria, which is where we are now with that lovely mountain in the background, all the way to Ibiza in the Mediterranean. Flight time at about 2 hours, 5 minutes or so. And yeah, we just have a chilled out stream. We'll follow real world procedures. There's quite a few things I'd like to discuss regarding this departure as well. Excellent. So here we are, cold and dark. I've literally not touched anything in the sim. I've just fired it up. We're in some scenery. Let me try and get this right. This is from Just Sim. I can't remember how much it cost, but it was in the org store. But yeah, it's pretty good looking scenery. All Ortho 4 XP around. Look at that scenery. That's just absolutely smashing, isn't it? So yeah, that's awesome. Right, so here we are, fully cold and dark. Let's get the battery on. And some ground power as well. Plenty to discuss today regarding this departure. Live weather, live time as well. Pop on the electric hydraulic pumps. And I'll do the fire warning tests and fault warning tests down here. I'm actually checking the lights like we're meant to do properly. Pop that on. Seatbelt signs can come on as well. Put the fuel in the sim very shortly. Right igniter switches on too. We'll come to the MCP in a second. That's all set. Cargo fire tests. All that's done as well. Pop that on VHF1. Rudder on trim we check as well. Make sure that's closed. Circuit breakers. Merge escape rope for the captain. Onto the upper overhead panel. Do the Mach and airspeed warning tests. Every time that doesn't work because of the AC, but the stall warning test's working fine. Pop that on VHF1, IRS alignment to nav, and put this here to 8 minutes 2, and then check the circuit breakers this side and the emergency escape rope. And we'll also start the boarding too as well. I've got a donation coming in from Tom. Tom again, who's always donating. I don't know why the thing didn't pop up, but thank you very much for the 50 Norwegian kroner, forcing my better half to watch your stream. Baby. Oh my goodness, I had to do some convincing to get my other half to do a live stream today as well. Darren B, the ZIBO's fantastic. I downloaded it yesterday. Yeah, excellent. Welcome to the mod. You'll have many hours flying this around for sure. That's all good to say. Stephen Jenkinson, evening all from the reigning Cotswolds too. There's the donation coming in now, a little bit late there. George Carney is saying hello to the captain, good to see you too. Awesome, so we've done the safety inspection, now we can do the preliminary flight deck inspection. So we'll pop on terrain, airports on the ND here. The QNH in Salzburg, whilst I just get my weather updated on my phone. It's 9.93 hectopascals. So we can set that here too.
Windshear.
Oh crikey!
Windshear
Noise is coming off as well. Loads of what is going on in the background here? So much stuff at the moment. I've just got a donation from Toby as well. £1.71. Thank you very much. You are learning me a lot. Thanks to everything. Grab a beer. Oh, why is that going Windshear? Have I knocked something down here? My goodness me! What's causing the Windshear alert to go off? It's going to be nothing on the weather radar related. Anyway, hopefully that will... Oh my god. Guys, has anyone had the repetitive Windshear warnings? How on earth do I turn that off? Let me just... Oh my god, I shouldn't be getting anywhere wind shear warnings like that. We'll have a fiddle with that later on. Simone Tomba, any impact on the frame per seconds with curved lines? Not that I know of. But more importantly, why am I getting wind shear warnings? That's really bizarre. Alright, hopefully that... Does that stop now? Oh my goodness me. Am I going to have to restart the sim again? Let's have a look at the comments and see if anyone else has had similar issues. But I keep getting repetitive wind shear warnings here. So the wind shear warning system comes from both the weather radar...
Wind shear.
comes from the weather radar reactive wind shear warning, or the terrain radar, I should say. The weather radar is for the predictive wind shear warning, but I have absolutely no idea what that's sounding off. So all I'm going to do is just power off the aircraft.
Wind shear.
Oh my god, is that something completely unrelated? It's active sky, is it? Oh guys, thank you very much. How am I going to have to do that? I'm just going to reset active sky then.
Wind shear.
So I'm just going to turn active sky on and off. It's active under audio settings. Off to a good start, Rugby Lee, yes. Right, let me just turn that off then, because that is really annoying. I've never had that in any of the streams. And the weather right now in active sky, it is 140 at 14, gusting 24. It's a bit brisk, but that shouldn't give you a wind shear warning. It's certainly not shut down anyway. So change on active sky, settings, options, audio options, play wind shear or alert off, save. Thank you. Alright, I've disconnected that. Alright, there we go, very good. We've disabled that. So sorry about that. It's not issues with disable wind shear callouts in active sky, which we've done. Awesome. So that's what we've done. I thought it was a problem with the mod, so I've powered it off, and hopefully that shouldn't have had any bugs with this now. So battery on, GPU on, seatbelt signs on. It should be pretty much as we left it. And hopefully the IRS will still align. Oh, it's going to probably cause issues down to the fact that I powered it down. I will realign the IRS as the nav, as long as we get the align lights. Excellent. Right, we'll give that another go, and if we have any issues, we'll have to reset the whole sim and aircraft, but anyway. Right, we've got down here, autobrake to RTO, nav aids, we're going to tune some up for departure. We need the Salzburg VOR, which I think is 110, just looking on the chart here, 109.9, there we go. And we need the, what should we put on standby? I'm just having a look at the SID. There's actually no nav aids for this departure, but there is an emergency turn procedure, so we need to put in the Salzburg VOR 13.8, which is on standby. Excellent. So we're going to discuss all of this. I might be just talking nonsense, or what it sounds like nonsense at the moment, but we'll discuss all this later. So we've got the nav aids tuned. The NDB we need also for the emergency turn is 410. There, we'll make that active, and we'll select ADF and ADF1 here. Awesome. So the pedestal's all pretty much set. We're not on VATSIM, so we don't need to worry about the nav aids here. We can now go up here and then back to the FMC. So terrain, airport, we've selected. Cool, so we can now jump into the FMC. Now, before we do any of this, let's actually discuss some of the things we need to talk about regarding this departure and the routing as well. So if I bring up the flight plan, which is this one here. Here's the operational flight plan. We're going to need 8.8 tons of fuel. It's about 140 passengers on board today, and this is the way we are going to be going. Here we go. So we're taking off from Austria Salzburg. It's a really nice departure over the Alps, over northern Italy, Monaco, Nice, Mediterranean, Ibiza. Here it is, and it's going to be probably be runway 06 today. The performance we're going to discuss later on as well. I've included all of this information for this stream too. So if we close this, we've got takeoff and landing performance, which I've calculated, but we've also got this beauty. Now, this is an emergency turn procedure. Now, you might have seen me talk about emergency turn procedures before. When we take off on runway 15, we need to discuss what would happen in the event of an engine failure, because lo and behold, if we go outside and you look in the direction of runway 15, you don't want to keep going in this direction in the event of an engine failure, because you might hit the side of this mountain. So it's really important that when that's an issue such as terrain, you have to pre-plan and discuss what you do in the event of an engine failure, which is why I've tuned those navigational aids as well. I've just seen my step-brother has commented on the live stream. Fly to Peterborough, pick up your coat. Very good. He's gonna send a message to me. Yeah, I went to see my stepbrother about 2 weeks ago and left my coat there accidentally. So I hope you're well, George. So that's the emergency turn procedure, as we've discussed already. Now we're going to load the FMC up with the routing information. We'll discuss the rest later. So we're in Salzburg, Lima Oscar Whiskey Sierra. We'll put the coordinates in from GPS left in the IRS position. We're going to Ibiza, which is Lima Echo India Bravo. We'll use the infamous Broadsword 01 call sign, even though we're not on ATC, but we'll put that in here. Departure for runway 15 is going to be, I think it's called the Detza 2 Bravo. There it is. Preferably in Salzburg. We don't want to actually depart from runway 15. It's because of the terrain, but with that wind we're kind of forced. Usually you take off on the reciprocal runway and you'd even accept a bit of a tailwind because of the mountain and terrain. There's quite a lot of obstacles there, but we have to use 15 today. The rest of the routing I'm just going to punch in from the flight plan, which I have printed out a copy already in front of me. So we're going to go from Detza direct to Levci and then to Vog VOR, which is 110.45. We're then going to go to Innoba. Now, a lot of people comment on the stream or send me messages saying, why do you type it in manually every time? Well, that's the way we do it every single day at the airline I work for. We don't have any company routes programmed into the FMC. So it is far easier to make a company route, pre-plan it from SimBrief and then upload it that way. But it's just, I just like doing it this way because it's the way I do it every single sector. I'm pilot flying. From Islam, Upper November 736 to Balen, and from Balen it's going to be nearly there, Upper November 850 to Palenza, which is the VOR for the arrival into Ibiza. There we go. Papa Oscar Sierra. Arrivals then, it's going to be, I think, ILS 06 based on the wind, and the arrival's going to be the Phosphor to Victor. And we're going to have a Demev transition, so we'll activate that, execute it. No route discontinuities, looks good for now. Awesome, so we now need to fiddle with the fuel and performance to represent what we have in SimBrief. So the fuel, we said, when minimum required is 8671, so we'll call that 8.8 tonnes. The reason I'm using standard block fuel today is the weather's actually not too bad en route, and it'd be quite a good way to test to see if the fuel burn's quite accurate with the mod, because I've had a lot of messages saying the fuel burn's been off, but I'm not so sure with that. The zero fuel weight we need today is 56.3 tonnes, based on 140 passengers, so we need a payload of, I think, 14.3. Calculate that earlier, 55.7, and the 08 wanted 56.3, so we need a little bit more payload there. So it's going to be 14.9. There we go, 56.3. As I said, that's for 140 passengers, a bit of a cargo there as well. So now that's done, we can discuss the performance, which I've already calculated. So the weather right now in Salzburg, I'll read it straight from you. I see some people have posted the METAR for me in Salzburg as well. Basically, we're going to be going 140 at 14, gusting 24. So the wind's down the runway, with a little bit of a gust there. A few clouds. It's unbelievably 20 degrees in Salzburg right now. It's actually warmer in Salzburg, Austria, than it is in Ibiza. I've never seen that before, but fair enough. QNH is 993. Awesome. Now, just before we do the performance, I'll just get a catch up with some of the comments. Tree fan had commented to my stepbrother. Filio Gamini, when will you take off? Probably in about 15 to 20 minutes from now. Wingnut, any chance to stream with a short runway ops, flap 25 takeoff, flaps 40 max or the brake landing? I've done a flap 25 takeoff in the stream, and we've done a stream into, I think it was Guernsey or Jersey, which was very, very short runway. So we'll look at that again today, but we'll stick it to standard there. Remarkably, I think you need to add the outside air temperature. Yeah, we'll do that very shortly. Tom, with your salary, can you afford a new screen? I quite like my Acer £90 screen, but I don't have the space on my desk for a second monitor, unfortunately. The roaming tofu, love it. When you fly in real life, do you plan your routes via airways, or is it okay to file direct? So yeah, it's a mixture of airways and direct routings. I'm not sure if there's many direct airways between the routes from Salzburg to Ibiza. I don't actually think there's any airline operating this sector, so it's common to sometimes get a lot of directs as opposed to airways there, so it's quite normal. Cool. So let's discuss the performance charts. We can close this one here, or certainly open the next one. Here we go. So I did this at 15:40, 20 minutes before the stream, based off the weather I got from the latest ATIS there. This is, before you guys get excited if you're new to my live streams, this is from the actual official Boeing onboard performance tool. It isn't available publicly, but I do use it to calculate performance for streams and stuff. But you can see we've got Salzburg, it's the Bravo intersection. ET means there's an emergency turn procedure as well. I see Richard Nash is in the stream. Where did you first comment? Because I need to make you a moderator. Richard Nash, guys, is a very good friend of mine. He is currently on his foundation flight training. He's got a PPL. He's doing his CPL IR at the moment. But I've just made you a moderator, Richard, so you can answer any questions if anyone's in their foundation flight training as well. But yeah, he's a very good friend of mine. He's here to help answer any queries you have. Winds down the runway, 20 degrees, as I said, really warm, 993. Thrust rating, we'll use the most optimal rating, flat 5 departure, air conditioning, auto, anti-ice off. For 65 tons, look at that, it is full power, 26k we need for departure. It wouldn't even let us take an assumed temperature when I calculated it, so it's literally 99.9 full power. Now this isn't to do with the runway length, it's to do with the fact we're obstacle limited with that big mountain, so we need to take pretty much full power for departure, full 26k. And the MF rate is going to be 3090, which, as if you probably already know if you watched my streams, this is the height at which we want to initiate acceleration in the event of an engine failure. So we'll set that to 3090, which is very quick in the mod compared to alternate 737 sims available. I remember that taking ages in a certain add-on, which is quite cool to do. Excellent, so the minimum flat retraction altitude is set. We've got Noah Featherstone coming in with $1.99. Thank you very much. Hey man, congrats again on becoming a captain. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, for those you unaware, I was recently promoted to captain. I've now logged about 60 hours PIC time on the 737. So I've got one more day off tomorrow, and I'm flying again. Oh, I don't even know what day it is today. Thursday to Friday. So flying on Saturday. So flying Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week as well. So yeah, thank you very much for the donation there. Awesome. So performance we've discussed, so we can get rid of that. 26k full, 99.9. So we can now jump into the FMC. Zero fuel weight should be updated. Reserves were alternate for Barcelona, so we need to go 2.8 tons from SimBrief. Cost index we're going to use is 30. We're going to cruise at 37,000 feet. Now that trip says 360. It should be the optimal cruise level, but this isn't fully working in the mod yet. So I'm hoping that one day gets updated so we get optimal cruise levels appear in the FMC. Top of climb wind at 370, 188 at 27 knots. And the ISA deviation from standard temperature is -1 degree, which is all set. M1 limit full 26k, temperature is 20 degrees, and you'll see 99.9, and that should probably be slightly different with the bleed air, but not an issue, it's fine. We need all that thrust for departure, and we'll use flat 5 for takeoff, 36, 38, 46. Remember, we have to check the OPT. Obviously, I know you guys don't have it, but just to explain what we do in reality, make sure those speeds are within 1 knot. So we've got 36, 38, 47, 36, 38, 46. So they're all within knots, and then we set V to 146 knots just up here. Awesome stuff, guys. So FMC's pretty much loaded. We can now do the upper overhead panel scan. Pop the fuel pumps on. Did we have any fuel in the centre? I think we did. 900 kilos. So we'll pop the centre fuel tank pumps on. Window heat can come on as well. Electro-hydraulic pumps are set. Trim air on. I remembered it. I always forget to set that during the streams. Cruising at 370. And our elevation in Ibiza, so I just get the plate out on my iPad in front of me, is 24 feet, so we can leave that set to 0. Excellent. Get back to Salzburg. Pop this to steady, which gives you nav aid lights on. Now, the SID we're flying is an RNAV SID, so we don't actually need to tune any nav aids regarding the departure, but we do need to set them regarding the emergency turn procedure, which we'll discuss in a second. So if we go to Avitab, charts, and close the takeoff performance, we'll get the ETP up one for later. And we need airport now. We're in Salzburg. Next. Haven't even showed you where we've parked. Excellent. So we want airport, info, and parking stands. And the SID as well. Back. Departure. What do we say we're doing? We're doing the Detza 2 Bravo. Excellent. So let's start in order. Basically, we have where we're parked, which is... Oh, where was it? I can't actually remember. Just look outside. See what's plated on the floor. Whiskey 6, there we go, in Whiskey 6. It's a what we call self-manoeuvring stand. So there's no pushback here. When we start the engines, we just make a right turn off the stand onto the taxiway, and then we'll vacate via that apron there. And then we'll go out via Lima, and then we'll taxi full length. Well, say full length. We'll take the Bravo intersection. We can take off from there. We've already satisfied that with the performance. Matteo, I cannot see curved lines. I knew someone would ask that today. Now, despite the title of my video discussing curved lines, you may notice there's no curved lines here. Now, there is a reason for this. I actually queried this with ZIBO. I said, I thought curved lines had been finished. Why is there no curved lines on this departure? And he showed me, and I'm actually going to post a link in the chat here so you can have a look. There's 23 different types of waypoint legs, paths and track terminators, or different ways the FMC draws routing here. So if you have a look at the link here, it is extremely difficult for ZIBO to implement this, and he's probably, I have no idea, but I'd say halfway through getting this all featured. So these waypoints, I'm trying to quote ZIBO here, he said they are track to fix or something. He hasn't finished the programming yet for those sort of curved lines on the SID, but you can see here, look, the rest are curved, and hopefully if we go to plan here, you'll see on the SID most of these waypoints are curved as well. So if we go next, you can see here, look, all the en route ones here should be curved, I think, on this arrival too. There you go. So he's in the process of getting this finished, but it's a lot of work for him. It's a lot of work. I actually didn't realise how challenging it was. So yes, despite the title of this video, the first departure, or the departure we're doing, doesn't have any curved lines. But we're going to discuss that in a second. So we've discussed the taxi routing. Here is our departure. It's going to be the Detza 2 Bravo. Transition altitude 10,000 feet. We require GNSS RNAV approval, which Flydeck to Sim Airlines has invested in. We have a dual FMC system. Radar vectors are available. Flight tracks are recorded at Salzburg Airport are for aircraft noise. So it's one of these airports, you see these little points here, they want to make sure you're nice and quiet, not making too much noise to annoy everyone. So bear in mind, performance and safety comes first, but we're not so worried about that also in a desktop simulator. And the departure then, we're going to climb straight ahead to this waypoint here called Whiskey Sierra 643. So we'll check the FMC, there it is, Whiskey Sierra 643. And, oops, we should go back to it like this, there we go. So you can see it's there, and I believe the mod will turn perfectly. And then we're going to make a left turn all the way around before we hit anything towards Whiskey Sierra 610, which you can see is here. Now notice the speed on this departure, it's 165 knots. So the reason that is, if we go any faster, we might overshoot this turn, and you don't want to overshoot it because you're going to get close to terrain here. So I think it even says here, look, runway 15, execute initial turn, maximum speed of 165 knots with a minimum bank angle of 25 degrees. All that means is we're going to delay flat retraction to ensure that we can actually turn at 165 knots. So we'll probably maintain flat 5 until we're inbound to those points there. We then continue northwest to Whiskey Sierra 616 at or above 5,300 and left to 617 and then to Detza at or above 15,000 feet. So we just check all those waypoints are coded in the FMC. We've got the restriction at 610. There's Detza at or above, well, I say 15,000 at or above flight level 150. So that's it. That's the SID briefing. One other thing, let's discuss this emergency turn procedure again, because this is so important to departures where terrain's an issue or there might be an obstacle. So if you go to, not airports, its charts. Here we go. So this is not for real world use, obviously. I edited this, so you make sure that none of my colleagues end up following the guidance I've provided, but it is based off the emergency turn procedure here of runway 15. And it says here, in the event of an engine failure or any issues like that, we're going to climb straight ahead to 1.4 miles off Oscar Echo Sierra. Now we have that nav aid tuned, and you can see here Oscar Echo Sierra. But to increase situational awareness, we can build something on the fixed rings so it's depicted a little bit clearer on the ND. So Oscar Echo Sierra, and we'll put 1.4 here. Now you'll see, if you look here on the ND, there's a nice little green nav aid ring. So without having to look at the chart, which obviously you're having to deal with an engine that's failed, you have something pictorially on the ND. Now it says once you get to 1.4 miles, we want to make a slight right turn and track 168 until we're 1.9 miles away from Oscar Echo Sierra. So we can add another distance ring of 1.9, and we can also put 4.5 because we must not go any further out than 4.5 miles, and we can also put 168 as a track reminder. So if we put 168, I hope this works, slash 4.5. No, it doesn't like that in the mod. You should be able to put a heading as well, but it doesn't matter, we know it's 168, so we'll just put the third distance ring in there. There we go. So you've got, it looks a bit messy, but I hope that makes sense pictorially. You can see, I'll go here to legs and zoom in a little bit. You can see pictorially we're going to go straight ahead, ignoring the SID obviously at this point, to this point here, 1.4, then make that heading 168, and then don't go any further out than 4.5 miles. Now once you're at 1.9 miles, if you read the text here, it says make a left turn inbound to the Sierra India NDB, which is here 410, which is what I tuned, if you remember rightly, right at the start of the stream there, to ensure that we actually go towards the beacon there. So what we need to do is, that's fine, we've got the NDB tuned and identified, so what we'd have to do is wait till 1.9, make that left turn until we're inbound to the beacon, and then from Sierra India we then route towards the Salzburg VOR, which is just to the north here. It's off the chart there. So what we're going to do is another thing as well. We want to put the Salzburg VOR on fixed page 2, but a radial of 143, because we must not overshoot this radial during the turn. If you do, you're going to probably hit something. And remember, you might be in IMC whilst you're doing this, so it's really important that you're aware of the terrain that's all around you. So we're going to put Salzburg 143. There you go. So if you had an engine failure, you know you make this left turn, you don't overshoot this radial here. So this is all about the present planning, being fully aware if the engine was to fail, what you're going to do. And it's very, very important that's covered from a professional, real-world perspective. In a simulator, you don't have to worry about that probably so much unless you want to plan an engine failure. But if you try and attempt to fly this SID with the engine failed, you could run into some issues. That's why we have, in the company I work for, specific emergency turn procedures to deal with that. I feel all exhausted explaining that. I hope that kind of made sense anyway. But yeah, that's the ETP. Right, let's get the APU started. We're pretty much all ready to go. There's nothing I've forgotten here on the overhead panel. Flight directors, there we go. Initial stop altitude in the SID, I think that was 10,000 feet. Initial climb clearance 10,000, so obviously there's no ATC here, so we'll put 10,000 feet on the MCP there. Read Chris J, tricky manoeuvre if you lose the right engine though. Yeah, a critical engine, I mean, on an aircraft like this doesn't make much difference. I've actually trained operators from pilots from other operators who talked about an issue, but we don't differentiate between the two engine failures here. Excellent, so 10,000 feet set on the MCP, RTO we did, reset the fuel flow, legs, terrain, airport, awesome. We set up the nav aids too, so we'll just wait for the APU to fire up. There we go. Awesome. Let's get rid of the GPU, and I think we're pretty much all good to go, guys. So no ATC, and this is an engine start on stand as well. There's no pushback required here. It's what we call a self-maneuvering stand. So we'll just get all the charts up we need. Airport, SID, we want the taxi chart initially. There we go. And now we're all good to go. Packs off. APU bleed on, anti-collision light on, Verify the parking brake is set, and then we can move the transponder to out off. We're squawking 2000 today, VFR flight to Ibiza. There we go. TGW9, do you use checklists when preparing the aircraft in these videos too? Not really. I should do, from a professional perspective. So the way I've set it up here is kind of like what pilot flying would do. I've kind of skipped the briefings, and then the pilot monitoring would read this to the pilot flying to ensure that everything was set correctly on the MCP there. So yeah, no need to in this case. In a stream here, I'm pretty confident I've not missed anything, but I don't ever take that confidence onto the real aircraft. We always read all checks. So briefing wise, we would have briefed the routing, done an instrument cross check with the first officer, which obviously there isn't, emergency briefings, taxi, SID, and we discussed the emergency turn. So we kind of covered it all anyway. Jet fighter, is the Boeing performance tool available for the public? I'm afraid it isn't. I'm afraid it isn't. Right, so without hesitation, let's get going to Ibiza, start engine number 2. So here, there probably wouldn't be a bypass pen installed because there's no pushback required. You'd be talking to the ground crew anyway to ensure that we are all clear, no one's behind before starting the engines. All looking good. Alright, N2 25%. Star lever to cutouts. Engine acceleration, I think, has been tweaked again. I think it's a little bit too fast still, especially the N2 increase there. It slows down a little bit, but the N1 stabilisation's a lot better, but a little bit too quick. So starter cutout 24632 is stable. Start engine number 1. Also to let you know, guys, that May is my month off at work, so I should have some more time and opportunity to do some more live streams, which is good. I've actually bought the Fly JSim 737-200, which I haven't actually flown yet. I bought it 2 weeks ago, and I haven't even opened it yet. I just haven't had the time. But yeah, we'll do some old school stuff in a 200, which should be good fun. You see my hopeless instrument navigation skills, because we're very lucky to have an ND these days. Awesome. So, starter cutouts, and that looks good. 2463 stable. Have you any notable differences in between ZIBO 3.33 and 3.34? Like I said, this is, guys, the first time I've not been able to do any issues with any testing for the ZIBO mod since my last stream, so I have no idea if there's been any fundamental changes. Yannick Lancel, YR Lancel's here. Greetings from a turnaround in Glasgow. For those of you who are new to my live streams, he's a very good colleague of mine. He's a captain at the company I work for. He's currently on his turnaround, probably watching my stream there, so if you've got any questions, he'll probably dive in the limited amount of time he has. He should probably be doing other things anyway. Right, let's do number 4, taxi flow. Generators on, APU off. Start switches continuous, Pro beat on. Auto all the way down, APU bleed is off. We got steady, and anti-collision light is on as well, and that's all set. Now set the flaps for departure. Flap 5 for takeoff. We'll now do a flight control check. Full forwards, full back, left, centre, and right centre, and the rudders now we need to check as well. Left, centre, right centre, recall, blank the lower DU, and you then read the before taxi checklist, which you can find here. So the flow I've done is pretty much, where is it down here? It's down here, before taxi checklist. The flow I've just done is in the same order as that, so that's what we need to do there. Okay. My other half just walked in and then walked out to my phone, so I have no idea what she needs that for. But anyway, we can then read the before taxi flow. Oh, sorry, Matt does things. 2463. What does this mean? Very good question. So this is a really useful number sequence to check the engines are stabilised prior or just post engine start there. So if you look at the N1, you can see it's 20.1%. EGT is 372 degrees, so around 400 degrees. N2 is 58%, and fuel flow is approximately 300 kilos. So 2463. So it's just something we do after the engine's stabilised to ensure that it's all set there. Richard Fletcher, trim's not set in the FMC. Yeah, actually, at the airline I work for, we do use the CG function now and the OPT. I generally don't bother in the sim because the trim calculation on the FMC is currently out a little bit. It needs a bit of work. We can set it there, 486. You can use that feature, and it should provide what you need to in the sim as well. Otavio, hi, all noob question, when do I use anti-ice systems? Yesterday my plane crashed because of ice formation. Whoa, crikey, you must have had some pretty bad icing. The engine anti-ice, if you actually search my channel, I have a tutorial dedicated to explaining icing and the icing systems on the 737 wing and engine anti-ice. I won't waste the time now in the stream to explain exactly how to use it, but if you have a look at that tutorial, search for wing and engine anti-ice, I'm sure that'll find you what you're looking for in the general search tab, and that will go into much more detail of what we need to do. Right, so no ATC, so we'll imagine we requested taxi. As I said, it's a self-manoeuvre stand, so we're going to do a right turn, join the Mike taxiway, taxi out via the gate, and then a left turn onto the Lima taxiway. That's it. So, config, release the parking brake, no takeoff config warning horn, and then immediately want to make a tight right turn. Now, when you're making tight turns like this, in excess of 90 degrees and you're using full tiller, you don't want to use any thrust on the inboard engine because it's actually going to have a negative effect to your turn. If you actually have a look here, you can see, you imagine the thrust coming out here, it's actually not going to be really helping you push the aircraft. Now I don't know if I can independently set the thrust for each engine. Oh, I can actually, look at that. So if you want to do something like that, and that will help the aircraft turn when you're doing a tight turn then, just like in a Seneca really. But I think in the mod, limited to how much thrust I can use. There we go. It's a little bit greasy. Oh, it might be a bit of uphill as well. You don't want to use more than 40% thrust really to initiate taxiing. But that'll do. Don't want to hit our ground crew. Oh look, he's waiting for me. How patient. Excellent. It shouldn't be anyone moving around, and we got the anti-collision lights there. But yeah, we can now set about 35-40% now thrust. Both engines. Awesome, and then we can join the Mike taxiway. Perfect. And when you're in the apron, this area, maximum taxi speed about 15 knots. You don't want to be going much quicker than 15 knots. On the taxiway, you can go up to 25-30 knots, permitting the condition of the taxiway, but in the sim, not an issue there. Awesome. Oh, it's so difficult when you are going to turn, right turn, turn the wrong way. I was looking at it incorrectly. Just trying some different views here. But yeah, it's really cool, X-Plane 11. I just love the way it looks and feels. Awesome. Excellent. So we're going to make a left turn onto the Link taxiway. I've never been to Salzburg in reality. These are interesting looking houses. They're really cool there. I'd like to go and have a look at that. So yeah, the departure is going to be really spectacular with that right turn, left turn out departure. No, God, don't turn right, otherwise you're going to hit something. Awesome. So we get rid of the. Actually, we'll keep the control column because it doesn't really block any views there. Right, so we can now do the before takeoff checklist. Config we've checked. We've got the flaps to departure, which is 5 and 5 green light. The stab trim set for takeoff as well. The takeoff briefing, so we check the air conditioning. Pax auto, bleeds on, and the speeds are set for departure. 36, 38, and 46 is set. Blank the lower DU as well. And the SID is the Detza 2 Bravo. We're going to climb straight ahead, runway heading to Whiskey Sierra 643, left turn. I think it was then to Whiskey Sierra 610. Don't forget to do that initial turn at a maximum speed of 165 knots. And don't forget the emergency turn procedure. We'd always brief that on the takeoff briefing. So we're going to go straight ahead to a distance of 1.4 miles, slight right turn, 168 to 1.9 miles off Oscar Echo Sierra. Left turn to the Sierra India NDB. And then a right turn to the Salzburg VOR. And then we'll climb to the minimum holding altitude, which is 4,000 feet. John P94, I think those hangars are owned by Red Bull, where they keep their display aircraft. That's awesome. Yeah, they have got a DC-6. I remember watching a documentary about that. Cool. Just turn the lighting up slightly. So also taxi speed about 25 knots, not too bad. So just in the shadow, sun's behind us, not too much we can see out behind it. Ritsky, any recommendations for rudder pedals? I've got a pair of Cytec Pro rudder pedals and they're absolutely fine. They're pretty good for desktop simulation, no problems with them. Cool. So we're coming up to the intersection here. manage that chart. Make sure I look where I'm going. There we go. Now remember from the Boeing OPT we took the intersection performance figures from Bravo, so we don't have to backtrack the runway to use it, but if you were unable to, you'd have to backtrack and use that extra bit of runway for your takeoff performance, so we can actually depart straight from Bravo here. So imagine we've got the takeoff departure curve. Just want to get the latest wind from Salzburg from my METAR, updated 20 minutes ago, 140 at 11 knots, excellent, 18 degrees, so it is cooling down there. So we have been cleared, takeoff, lights on, strobes, weather radar, transponder to TARA, water throttle and LNAV. So we can now do the before takeoff checklist. The rest of it, MCP's set, transponder TARA, strobe lights on, landing lights are on, we are cleared takeoff, surface wind down the runway. Vanilla Sky Gaming, do you use a joystick? Yes, it's the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. Perfect. So make sure you clear left and clear right. The FO's got the best view in the house today. And that, I should say, any passengers sat here as well.
Approaching 1-5.
Awesome. So the passenger in row 13 also heard the RAS there. He's got a fantastic view of that mountain. I have no idea what it's called. Now when we do the terrain escape training at the airline I work for in the simulator, we use this very mountain actually to perform the terrain escape, because we just put you downwind for runway 33 and point you straight towards that mountain and get the guys to do a terrain escape manoeuvre when they get the train warning. So that's how I'm reasonably familiar with Salzburg.
On runway 15.
Awesome. So are we pointing in the right direction? Yes, we are. 154, 154, all looking good. Guys, we're ready. Flight time will be around hour 55, 2 hours or so, so we'll get it going. And very well done, Beastie, reminding me, don't forget to set the chronometer. Right, awesome, guys, so let's set the thrust levers at 40%. Make sure I'm happy with my seat position. The spool up time, that was quite realistic, that was nice. So that's all stabilised, push toga, set, takeoff thrust. Awesome. So 99.9 takeoff thrust set, indications normal. That's full power from the engines today.
80 knots.
80 knots is checked. There's the wind. That's forecast down runway 16 knots. V1 rotate. So we go 2 to 2.5 degrees per second. Now increase that back pressure up to the 15 degrees target attitude. Gear up with the positive brakes. Excellent. Engine's working fine, so we don't need to commit to the emergency turn procedure, so we'll stick with the SID. 400 feet checked. There we go. And that's to Whiskey Sierra 643, so we can now start that left turn. And remember, it's max 165 knots, so what we've got to do is follow the flight director. It's actually bugged to 166, but I think we'll get away with that. Left turn yet, maybe it's just coding to this next point. Yeah, there we go, it's going to 643, and then it's going to start the left turn. So we're not going to retract any flaps until we've actually started that left turn to 610. And yeah, we're still, ZIBO's still working on the curved lines for these particular points there, which is why you can't see anything there. That's the view for the passenger. Not the best idea when you're flying manually. There we go. From the departure runway as well. Looking good. Look at that wing flex. So I could have engaged the autopilot, but what's the fun in that? So as soon as we're inbound to Whiskey Sierra 610 wings level, we can bug up and retract the flaps on schedule. Excellent. A little bit of light turbulence, but nothing too bad. Feels so good. The sim just feels fantastic. Pitch power, performance is just exactly what I anticipate. Climb thrust is now set. I think it's worth a cheeky little flyby view. I love it. Love it. So there's Whiskey Sierra 610. It's actually flown the curve, look perfectly. We just need this curved line on the ND, and that would be perfect. Got the hectopascals warning me to set standard, but we are climbing to 10,000 feet. But we'll set a higher cruise level. Imagine we'll go up straight up to 230. We can now set standard. And we can now bug up because that turn's complete. Retract the flaps on schedule. So above V2 plus 15, we can now select flaps 1. Shouldn't be commanding a descent, just a slight climb on the flight directors. That's flaps up. Excellent. Looking good there now. So now I'm trimming to maintain 211 knots on the flight directors. Let go of the controls now. So we've got Command A, VNAV, and we accelerated to 250 knots. Excellent. So flaps up, no lights. Oh, that's a bit of negative G there. Don't be so aggressive pitching down there. There we go. After takeoff checklist we can now do. So off, off. Start switches can come to auto as well. It's dark this panel, isn't it? There we go. Air conditioning pressurization 3.0. Temperatures all good are set. And then altimeter standard set, passing 89 flight level 230 after takeoff checklist is complete. Manage the heading as well. There we go. Cool. USCEF IRITFA, no curved lines yet. At the beginning of the stream I just discussed how curved lines are implemented in 23 different ways. They're still not implemented on certain routes there. So yeah, there wasn't a curved line for this SID. There's a link up there describing that. I've got T. Cox Kodan coming in with a membership. Thank you very much for directly supporting the channel. I really appreciate that, and you should get an invite automatically to the members only Discord. I'll look forward to catching up with you later. Right, we're already up at flight level 100, so we can do the pre-cruise checks as well. It's very busy this departure. So fuel 6 pumps, lights, APU's off, pressurization set 4.0 on the diff, and temperatures all look good. Recall, all looking good. Release the cabin crew, let the passengers go as well. And that's the pre-cruise checks complete. Awesome guys, so here we go. 13 degrees, so we don't need the engine anti-ice, nice and warm through the clouds. I hope it's not too cloudy because we're going all the way over the Alps, all the way to Ibiza on the initial routing. Should be quite nice. Yeah, they're just so realistic with this. It just gets me every time this sim how good it is when I compare the way it used to be. Not so cloudy off in that direction to the east. Awesome. There you go, here's some nice curved lines then. A little bit of a glitch there, but it is still being tweaked at the moment. So here we are, up here, 616, already above ATA, above 5,300 easily. We're now going to Whiskey Sierra 617. I've got Noah Featherston always donating and tipping, thank you very much there, $9.99. I wish these live streams were a daily thing. Oh, thank you very much, man. Yeah, I wish I honestly, I swear to you guys, I wish I had more time to commit to that. But it's very busy at the moment, right up to the end of May, as I have to commute to work now, because my flying base isn't my home base anymore. Tom is also coming in with another tip and donation, asking a question, 20 Norwegian kroner, thank you very much. You retract the flaps on MFRA or V2 plus 15? Very good question. Now, if you had an engine failure, you don't initiate the flap retraction, you begin what we call the third segment, the level segment, to accelerate the aircraft in the event of an engine failure. V2 plus 15, the little white bug you get, is when you start retracting flaps for a normal 2-engine departure. So that's the difference between the two. I hope that sort of makes sense there. Perfect. Jim go-arounds at Heathrow today. Awesome crosswind. Oh, no thanks. Don't fancy that. I've been lucky actually. I flew last week. The weather was absolutely spectacular all over Europe. Did some really nice flying. No issues with weather at all. I don't. Now I'm sat in the left-hand seat. The right-hand seat, I used to kind of enjoy a bit of dodgy weather. You know, a bit of a challenge there. When you're in the left-hand seat, that kind of perception changes. You want everything as easy as possible. Anything just to make your day go by. You want aircraft that are fully working. No problems with passengers, no problems with the weather. Finn Fabian, how do you make your livery? I didn't make the livery, someone very kindly offered to make it for me. Master caution, fuel centre pumps, no more fuel in, that's why we've got that, so they can come off as well. Awesome. There we go. Tom, cool, got it, excellent. SYOS Inside, can you talk a bit of one pilot in the cockpit situation? When is one of the pilots actually allowed to visit the lavatory, for example? Now, obviously, since the Germanwings incident 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe a bit longer than that now, where that first officer took the aircraft whilst the captain was out into the ground, at the airline I currently work for, the rule was always no more than no less than 2 pilots or 2 people in the flight deck at once. So there's always at least 2 people there. So if one of us wants to go to the toilet, we ding the cabin crew, they come in, the other pilot goes out, uses the refreshments and goes to the toilet, and then comes back in that way. Prior to that, I think certain airlines only wouldn't have that rule, but I think that was implemented ever since that happened there. That's what we do. What did I just miss there? I missed something, I'm sure. Donation there. Julian Williams coming in with a £2 donation. Thank you very much. You truly inspire me. Keep up the work. Thank you very much. I look back, the reason I do this, you know, I look back at myself when I was simming, probably younger than most people in the chat here, 19 years old. I always used to say, I wish there was someone that could do what I'm doing now. So yeah, that's all cool. Right, so there's no ATC. We'll go all the way up to our final cruise level of flight level 370, which is set, and then we check that set on the up overhead panel, the pressurization panel, on the MCP, and in the FMC as well. 370 set 3 times. Perfect. Stuart Walsh, are the cabin crew trained to know if the other person is doing something they shouldn't be? No, they're not trained in that respect. They're just there to be another person, to be able to open the door, you know, if anything was amiss. No, they're not. They're not trained in that much detail regarding that. Now, if we have a pilot incapacitation, so one of the pilots is ill or unconscious or isn't fit to fly, one of the cabin crew does come and sit in the flight deck and reads the checklist to the pilot flying on the approach and landing. Is it useful from a practical point of view? Not terribly, because you know what the checklist is, but it just allows some kind of bit of crew synergy there. So they're not trained on certain things, and when they're in there, you know, you don't just ignore them. You can have a general conversation with them, but it's very important that you monitor the radio. You don't want to be distracted by them, so you keep monitoring the radio, keep monitoring the aircraft's flight path. James MP, do you think your partner could land a plane in an emergency? Jessie suggested that she did that one live stream, but it would be against my ethos on the stream, which is to provide a professional experience. I'm sure I've had friends of mine in the level D sim, they've had a go and had a look at that, and they were able to land by following the flight rating with a bit of general guidance. They needed a lot of guidance. Would I think a general member of the public be able to? I don't think so. But interesting perception. Probably she could, I don't know. She's done it before and actually managed to not break it, so. James Godwin, hey, love the videos, you've inspired me to get back into the sim flying again. Well, that's really cool. Do you do a regular panel scan in the cruise? Yeah, absolutely. So I don't have any set rules, but every few minutes you just make sure your fuel, engines, no unusual indications, altitude, airspeed. It's really important when you get to top of climb. I have my own little way of checking everything. I started the upper overhead panel. Are the fasten belts released and the passengers released so they can use the toilet? From a commercial perspective, you want them to be able to move around. LNAV and VNAV, typically you want those modes engaged in the cruise. Make sure they're there, because you might have used a different pitch mode. And weather radar, you alter the tilt, which obviously isn't featured on the mod yet, but you can alter the tilt angle on certain weather radars. Make sure that's set so you've got a good scan of any weather ahead of you. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to check everything there. Matthew Schmidt, how difficult is the 737 type rating? Just passed my AGK LTL subjects, but this has to be the one I've been struggling with the most. Any tips? Yeah, type rating's pretty tough, quite intensive. Is it the most difficult thing I've done in my aviation career? No, I'd say the instrument rating is, from a single pilot operational perspective. The hardest thing I've ever done is actually training to be an instructor. I found that more difficult than the actual command upgrade process, and training to be an instructor in the sim that the operator I work for was really good preparation for the command upgrade. So I always say to anyone I've flown with in the past month who ask about being an instructor, I 100% recommend it to them if they want to learn more about the aircraft. And there's so much, I mean, there's so much I still don't know about this aircraft or general rules as well. It's an ever learning experience, which is why I love it. Yeah, that's why I love it. Cool, so there's 30,000 feet. We can set the bank angle to 10 degrees. Oh, I haven't been looking outside at the pretty scenery. Ditch the charts, we're well on our way to Ibiza. There we are, look. We're about half the chart length, half a chart length away off the chart now, so we can ditch all the Salzburg charts. Then we'll bring up this awesome interactive map, which I really like. So there's not much we can do to land on around here, but we are heading in this direction. I think we go straight over the top of Milano, and then we're going to go pretty much straight over the over Monaco there. So we're right over the Alps here. If you were a passenger on the flight deck to Sim Airlines, you'd be snapping away and putting these pictures on social media as soon as you've landed. Not such a nice view. Oh no, yeah, look at the Ortho 4XP, just outstanding. Awesome. Awesome. My performance is a lot better on the sim as well. Someone gave me a great tip. So if you're using X-Plane 11, in the graphics settings here and display, turn the reflection detail off, because I haven't noticed any change in the graphics or how it looks, but the performance had a marked performance increase when I turned off reflection detail. So I've been told it's a bit broken, so that's pretty good. Bubblegum, do you use Ortho? Yeah, I've got all of Europe installed base level 17 and about 6-7 terabytes on an external hard drive. Ready Player Gaz, is this an 18 to 30s flight? No, this is a Salzburg to Ibiza. My passengers are respectful, they're all old biddies going to enjoy their holidays. 1830, it's been a few years since I did one of them. God is my youth. But yeah, Ibiza, notorious for parties, but I've been told there's, I actually never visited Ibiza, but I've been told there's some quite nice areas to visit too. Matthias Smith, thoughts on the Formula 1 season? I thought we'd get to Formula 1 eventually. Poor Leclerc, hey? I really felt sorry for him. Now, I'm a British individual, I have to support the British drivers, but I felt gutted for him when he didn't win the race. And Hamilton, I think, dealt with it reasonably well. I thought he was actually quite impressionable because the way he reacted was also there. But yeah, he should have won, and let's hope he does really well. And Vettel, I mean, oh my God, where do we even get started there? I mean, if he plays stunts like that, continues playing stunts like that, he's not going to have a seat, I don't think, for much longer. So yeah, we'll see. Alexandra Silva, guys, is this update out yet? ZIBO's at work today, but he's messaged me saying as soon as I've landed in Ibiza, as long as we get there unscathed, he will release this version 120 public as soon as we've landed. Perfect. So here we are overhead Detza. Let's do a fuel check and see how the mod's doing, because we've just taken plonk fuel today. So Detza, 5 miles away. Let's make a turn. There's my performance dropping off slightly. Hold on, sim. We don't need this anymore. There we go. So the reason I use the SimBrief OFP is because they match the real world OFPs phenomenally accurately. So I always do this as a check. There we go. So Detza, we should have 7.1 tons and burnt 1.5. We've got 7.2 tons and we've burnt 1.5. There's no issue at the moment with the fuel burn. The drag profile and the fuel burn is spot on as far as I can see. Very, very good. Marvin said, will it be a full package? No, I think it's just an add-on to 3.34. 3.34 final is coming. It's just a few tweaks to the curve lines. I don't know what else ZIBO actually wants to get done. He said I haven't had much conversation with him for the last 2 weeks I've been away. Dr. Monday Forza Ferrari, yeah, very passionate. Ninja Monkey, can you show us how to use the ACP and all the ways to do drift transmissions? Yeah, we'll have a chat about that. It's topic like we discussed on the stream before, but we can touch that area as well very briefly. Matthew Schmidt, have you had your differences training on the Max yet? No, I've not done it. We have actually got the course, but seeing it's going to be grounded for at least the next 2 or 3 months, I've not actually started looking at that just yet. Awesome. So here we are. Then the cruise. Just want to adjust the cruise speed to match the FP, so we should be doing Mach decimal 7.8. Doing 7.7, that's fine. Excellent. And there we go. Right, so, to the chap who asked about the ACP, so here we are. This is the way you typically have it set in normal operations. You have both pilots on VHF1, meaning that when they push this switch to RT, they would be transmitting to air traffic control. And on the control column, there is an identical switch. Which is it modelled? I have no idea. It's not modelled. So there's a little switch here to transmit, and then on the other side it's the electric trim. So we'll get some pictures at the back of the control column for Audio Bird XP, so he can model the switches there for even more realism. He's pretty good at that. So that's how you talk to ATC. We primarily use the switch on the control column. VHF2 is this radio. You typically be monitoring this frequency, 1 to 1.5 in the cruise, which is the international distress frequency, listening out for anyone that needs assistance. We then have the flight interphone on, this switch here, which is the intercom to allow you to hear your colleague. Service is to talk to the cabin crew, and PA self-explanatory to do a public announcement. We don't use this mic selector. There's actually on the back of the pedestal here a hand mic. That's what you use to talk to the passengers. The reason being is if you do that to talk to the passengers, then forget to select this, you go to talk to ATC and you end up talking to all the passengers instead, which is a bit embarrassing. They'll be enjoying their canapes and champagne, and then they all of a sudden hear broadsword 01. Climbing flight level 370, they'll be a little concerned. So yeah, that's what we do there. Like Apple, is ZIBO realistic? Greetings from Germany. Yes, the ZIBO mod is a fantastic rendition of the 737, which is why I only use it in the stream. A bit hazy over the Alps. Excellent. Look at those views. So heading off now towards Bolzano. That's my best impression of trying to say that. So we're just approaching northern Italy. Awesome. So yeah, I don't think there's many airways in this direction, hence why we went on those direct routings in the FMC today. Alec D, have you ever flown in the US before, either in real life or in the sim? If so, how different is flying IFR in Europe v the US? Well, I have flown in the US, but only to do my foundation flight training up to CPL. It is quite different to Europe with regards to certain things, in ways similar. I've never flown IR in the US, but it is, again, a little different out there too. But I can't give you an accurate comparison to flying in Europe there. Perfect. Awesome. JS Shridhar, hi Captain, what is the isolation valve? So the isolation valve here on the overhead panel basically just isolates the left and right sides of the bleed air duct, so you can choose which one you want to do. For the engine start, for example, you'll need to have that open, so the APU bleed provides pressurization for engine number 2. But if you leave it in auto, it closes the valves depending on the position of the switches or positions of the bleed there. But yeah, we leave it in auto for normal operation. I can't remember, I think if it's in auto, it positions itself based on the position of the left pack and right pack switches, but the exact operation I can't remember. But yeah, auto for normal operation. Rallo 1410, have you ever had an engine failure? Thankfully not. Touch wood. Thankfully not. Perfect. James Donlin, are you allowed to use a toilet during the cruise, or does Flydeck have to secure the whole time? Yeah, we can use a toilet in the cruise. As I was discussing 15-20 minutes ago to someone that asked the question, we just have to ensure that everyone's sat down, seatbelt signs fastened, and one of the cabin crew members takes the place of the pilot or doesn't sit in the seat, but sits in the flight deck with the other remaining pilot. Always have to have 2 people in the flight deck. But yeah, generally on a 4-sector flight, I need to go at least once. It depends how strong your bladder is. Greg DFE, is the current European job market for fresh ATPL owners good or bad? I'd say it's pretty good. There's lots of opportunity. Certainly where I work, they're recruiting people straight from flight training school, so I think it's pretty good at the moment. Flight level 360 going to Ibiza opening season tonight. Amnesia, it's a club, isn't it, in Ibiza? Yeah, we'll pop in with the first officer. We'll represent Flight Deck Sim Airlines. Have a party with the passengers. JS Streeter, do you descend in VNAV or level change? We use VNAV primarily, but if you're high or low, you might want to use an alternate pitch mode. Awesome. So, just so you're aware of where we are, current time in the UK 10 minutes past 5, which is 10 minutes past 6 for UTC, because the clock's obviously changed there. Descent's going to be a little over an hour. I will probably take a 5-minute break in a few minutes time just to have a drink, catch my breath, and then we'll get ready for the next sector as well. Carl Bell, everyone's favourite question, which airline do you fly for? Again, I'll repeat myself, I don't say publicly who I work for. The operator I do work for is well aware of what I do. They give me full permission as well. But I just choose not to say who I work for, so I don't get questions relating to said company. So it's something I do keep to myself. James MP, have you, or anyone you've flown with, farted in the flight deck before? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no way of hiding it as well. It's a small space. You can't do it. If there's 3 of you in the flight deck, someone's on the jump seat, you might get away with not knowing who it was. But you just just apologise. Turn the Gasper fan off, you know, or turn this up, get this blown out the system. We're all human, guys. We're all human. Mystery Scythe, why do sometimes pilots use flap 40 for some landings and then 30 for some others? No, it's to do with the performance generally, or we try to use flap 30 where we can because it's going to make the flaps last longer, it's more fuel efficient, less noise, it's a better flap setting. Flap 40, however, allows you to fly a slower speed, so we use it on a shorter runway, for example. And we use that based on the runway length. There could be lots of other features as well, but generally we'll try flap 30, if not flap 40. Stu Terrell, it's been awesome to watch your channel grow, so thanks for all your hard work. Is there a particular airport that you fly to that holds more challenging than others? Yeah, there's lots. Well, Salzburg, where we just departed from, that's going to be very challenging. Where else do we go to? It's going to be there. Is it, what's that one in Greece? Can't see restricted. I can't remember its name now. I've never been there. I mean, it's loads. There's loads. I'm a new captain, so I'm actually limited to my destination. So my first 100 hours, I can't go to any restricted airports, so I get nice, easy sectors, thankfully. But yeah, there's quite a few out there. Peter Scott, which airport are you based at? Again, I don't publicly disclose where I'm currently based. Alex Norton, why did you choose commercial flying over military? Well, firstly, I'm short-sighted, so I don't know if you need 20/20 vision in the military to fly aircraft. Pretty sure you do. Secondly, it's not the lifestyle I really fancied, being sent to the Middle East to some conflict, so I chose to go commercial. Interesting, some turbines here, what looks like mountain wave when you see the aircraft climbing and descending like that, but it's okay, speed's holding steady. You'd feel that, you see this up there, you'd feel that in your seat of your pants, this increase of G as it's going up and down there, but that can happen if you've got a little bit of mountain wave, but speed would probably be going up and down a little bit more as well. Yeah, still over the Alps, but just approaching northern Italy now. Awesome. Let's have a look outside. Not too many external views usually. There we go. Busting holes and some high altitude cloud here. Good. Mike Papa window view to see some wing flex. There you go. Nice. Yeah, that is very realistic. It's like slight texture issue there. It probably shouldn't be like that. It should be all the same colour there. Probably have the seatbelt sign on. we go. Awesome. Yeah, let's pop the seatbelt sign on, just in case, guys. Very good. James Donnan, will you ever get a face reveal? Probably not. Quite like the anonymity, if I'm honest. Greg DFE, any tips on doing well on the ATPL exams? I mean, just, you know, what we say, prepare, study. Just read those manuals until you're grey in the face. I mean, it's a lot of information that you have to input. Any tips? I mean, what did I do? I mean, I found it very difficult. I had to spend a lot of time each day, especially with the just before the exams. I was spending probably 6-8 hours a day studying and just keep it up. That's all I can say, really. Yeah, I did mine now. What are we, 2019? So 9 years ago. Yeah, 9 years ago I was doing my exams. Matthias, would you recommend doing a jet orientation course prior to the first assessment? Absolutely, yeah. JOC, MCC, get it all done. Well, I think you have to at least have an MCC course done. But definitely recommend a jet orientation course. I know it's a little bit of money, but it just puts the foundations in for your type rating. Rallo 1410, do you have more than 2 pilots at very long flights? Yes, I'm not an expert on this because we don't have long sectors like that, but I don't know what the cut-off is. Sometimes I've got a good colleague of mine who inputs here. He's a 787 pilot, but I think he's either working today or busy, but he would very much help you answer that query. I've got Kim Brandwick coming in with a membership. Thank you very much for the direct support as we're riding along in some mountain way of keeping an eye on the changes in the IVSI. But thank you very much for the dedicated support to the channel. I'll hopefully catch up with you on Discord later. Generation Blowout, I finally caught him live. Yeah, here I am. Cool. Look at that. Whoa, I mean, you'd feel that. That's nasty. That's the membership thing, not the actual autopilot disconnecting. So this is probably, I'd say, light turbulence, but your speed's very steady here. You'd expect speed fluctuating maybe 5 knots either side if it was doing this. That'd be uncomfortable as well. This sort of increase in G. I put that down to the active sky input there. JS Street, what's your eye power? I don't want to tell you because I'm embarrassed, but I definitely need my glasses on to go flying. Let's put it that way. I actually wear contact lenses, and I have to wear a pair of spare glasses in my flight bag. So, but thankfully not an issue in commercial aviation these days. James Donnet, smash that like button. Yeah, appreciate the thumbs up on the videos. Oh yeah, the mug is fantastic, well worth the investment. Oh yeah, so basically there was this Teespring thing that said, oh, we can make you shirts and mugs, and I said, oh yeah, no problem, that's fine. When I realised how much they were charging, I was a bit distraught by that, so I don't know if I actually got rid of it, but I think I can alter the price. So it defaulted this price, so I get a few quid back, but I just want it so I don't get investment, so you guys can have a Flight Deck to Sim mug at a more reasonable price, not the ridiculous price it's set. I don't know if they're still available. I think I removed it. JS Strider, what is the limit for the eye power? And sorry for asking that, I have no idea. I think for the initial Class 1 medical, it's a little bit more stringent than it is on a recurrency medical. I honestly can't remember. You'd find that information online. Alex Norton, I am mildly colourblind and have a severe nut allergy. Will this affect a potential crew? Yeah, if you're colourblind, I believe that will. But go to an aeromedical examiner and get some initial guidance on that. Whether there's treatment or something you can do, I'm not sure. But I'm quite sure colourblindness is an issue. But you need to do a bit of research on that. Greg DFE, do you have any opinion on the pilot shortage? It seems like an airline school marketing term. I don't know. Compared to when I joined in 2000, I finished my training in 2010, 2011. There was no pilot shortage. There was very much low demand for pilot jobs, and I count myself very fortunate to have gotten in when I did. I think looking at what airlines are saying, and if you look at the airline recruitment pages, there's certainly a lot of movement in the industry, especially in the Middle East, China. If you're brave enough to go out there, there's some quite interesting packages. But at the moment, they're for more experienced flight crew. For new frozen ATPL guys, it's still the similar route. I think low-cost carriers. Some of the airlines do have sponsored schemes now, but again, I'm not up to scratch with that. The Alex Dean, have you ever had to squawk 7700? No, again, touch wood, thankfully not. I've had a pan call once for a medical emergency, but never had to Mayday, never had to squawk 7700. But we have done a pan call and a diversion for a medical emergency. That was 4 or 5 years ago when I was still in the right-hand seat. Steve Mayer, what, no mug, boss? Wanted one of those. Yeah, I will get them sorted, but I need to adjust the prices because they were, what was it? It was £15 that they charged by default for the mug, and I was outraged when I saw that. I said, no, I don't want anyone to have to pay that sort of money. So I will set up a new thing where you can buy a Flight Deck Sim shirt and a mug, because I've got loads of people that have asked for them. When I get round to doing it, I will have some time in May to do that. Well, actually, I might have a time because I'm going down to my base tomorrow, and next week I've got some shorter destinations, so not so long days, so I will have some time in the hotel to catch up on some replies and comments and messages. Vanilla Sky Gaming, ever had severe turbulence? Not the way I define severe turbulence or how the manual defines severe turbulence. Moderate turbulence, yes. Severe turbulence, no. Severe is partial loss of control, difficulty to maintain altitude and airspeed. I don't think I've ever had it. If you ever have, you have to report it in the tech log and have the aircraft inspected. Moderate turbulence, yes. Uncomfortable turbulence, yes. Severe turbulence, no. Daniel Khan, do you ever plan on moving up to a 777 or a 787? No, I have no intentions of flying a wide-body jet. I'd love to. Someone said, "Oh, yeah, Flight Sim, you could come fly the wide-body jet for 2 years and then go back to your previous career." I'd love that, but for me, I'm such a fortunate position. I always take a lot of. I take this for granted, I really do. I think, but when I have my last day flying, I really do like the time off at home. Just to catch up with family, friends and stuff, so that comes first. Wide body flying those sort of jets, you get very limited amount of time at home, long trips away. Jet lag, I don't get any jet lag at the airline I work for. I've trained so many guys from long haul operators who say, oh, jet lag is a killer, and I just don't want any of that. No thanks. Awesome, guys, so probably in about 10 minutes I'll take a break just to catch up. Have a drink, make myself a brew, and then I'll be sipping on my tea for the rest of the sector there. Captain Canada here as well. Good afternoon to you, sir. I hope you're very well. Aviator Karim, love the streams. Can't wait to start my training in August. Very good. Is that your foundation training or your commercial training? No idea, but good luck with your chosen career. Flight level 360, what do you mean with curved lines about the magenta lines? Yes, so it's been probably one of the most requested things for the ZIBO mod for some time was the curved lines. So if you look here, you'll notice, not so much here because it's quite a straight line for the rest of the IB, but if you look at this point to merge arrival, you'll see these nice little curves here, which has been an issue for ZIBO for some time to implement there. It's a small thing, but it certainly improves the immersion for the sim there. So that's been implemented. It's still a bit of work to do. So if I actually copy this link here, read that. That's talking about all the things which ZIBO is implementing on the ND there. Tom got to go to work filming. Catch the stream later, and I'll talk to you later too. Bye bye. Awesome. Enjoy, Tom. I'll chat with you later. So there's a little bit of weather here, but the way it's painted is, if you look out there, there's nothing there, so it's nothing to be an issue. Whether active sky will give us some turbulence with that, I have no idea. But there's the clouds being redrawn. Awesome. So VOG VOR, you can get the frequency for that, for a little bit of realism. We're over Milan at the moment. We'll close that to get the OFP up. Close that. Do another fuel check as well. There we go. So it's the Vagira VOR 110.45. Generally, we don't tune nav aids en route. I sometimes do a fuel check when we're a beam if you're given a direct waypoint, but there's no real need to do it. Some airlines have it as an SOP, but there we go. Inbound to the beacon. Pretty cloudy now, not much you can see out the window. Just a bit of shade. No, that's a shame because it would have been spectacular views all the way if it was a little clearer. What's that? Matthew Schmidt. How much banter during a normal long cruise? Just a typical banter, yeah. I hope I haven't painted airline crews being completely different. We are extremely professional, obviously, but yeah, you're sat next to someone for 4 or 8 hours. If you're sat there deadbolt upright, staring out the window, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience. Also from a CRM perspective, so I'm always, you know, critical phases, we do our job in the cruise, yeah, we'll have a chat about anything we're interested in, have a look outside, take a nice little photo perhaps, and yeah, it's just a nice relaxing experience. I try to, as certainly now on the left hand seat, to when I introduce the crew in the morning, you know, be upbeat, especially for the cabin crew. They might have had a really long week, be very tired. You know, try and be as upbeat as possible and as positive, and it kind of rubs on from a kind of leadership perspective there. Apple Mac OS X, how do you cancel Toga after takeoff? Well, Toga, the mode, automatically transitions to level change when you engage the autopilot. It doesn't really cancel itself out. It just ensures that climb thrust is set, and then it automatically calculates reduced climb thrust around 1500 feet or so. You can't really cancel it. Perfect. The Alex Dean, can you do a stream with the possibility of an engine failure or some other failure? Yeah, we could do. We did actually have one of the streams once where we're going, I think it was Zurich to Stansted, and the random failure generator was on, and we had an engine failure. The language that came out of my mouth was, I needed to wash my mouth out with soap. It was awful. But it did happen on a stream once. We did manage to get on the deck very safely, using some non-approved checklist reading. We did attempt to restart the engine, but it did fail. Awesome. Right, guys, so what are we up to now? Been streaming now for about an hour and a half. What have we got? 1624 Zulu. Oops. Let me just have a look at the descent page. 475 miles, about an hour until top ascent. So I'm just going to take this opportunity, 5 minutes, just to have a little break, grab a little wee, and I'll be back with you very shortly then. So just give me 5 minutes and I'll be right back. Thank you very much. Hello again, I'm back, refreshed as ever. Thank you very much for that, I really appreciate it, especially in the middle of the cruise. But streaming is actually quite tiring, especially when you're talking, what's it now, nearly an hour and a half, you know, doing the setup, the briefings, and stuff like that. But yeah, it just gives me a chance to get a drink now, we get some food, refreshed for the kind of second half of the stream. So where are we now? Let's do another fuel check, we'll do that in Noba. A bit of weather there, but again, I don't think that's really anything we issue. Limj is Geneva? Can't remember now. Let's go to maps. Yeah, Geneva, perfect. And then we've got nice over Nice and Monaco, excellent. Hamid Ahmed, seatbelt sign off unless you want to diverge into bad smell. Yeah, I think we can release them now. So yeah, if the passenger's seatbelt sign is on, you can still use the toilet if you really need to go, but it is at your own risk. You know, the airline can't be held accountable for any injury caused by turbulence if you do decide to go with a seatbelt sign on. Excellent. Kenny, got to tell me that. Yeah, you got to have a break, man. It's tiring, this, especially when you do all the setups. I do these streams very as realistic as possible, so I generate the flight plans, especially if you go online on VATSIM. You have to publish all that there too as well. Joseph Navigate, did you pay for your own type rating? Yes, I did. It was an extension on the flight training loan. The bank, which was lent the money for my initial flight training, if you had a job position or you had a employment at an airline after your interview, they would extend your loan for you to cover the cost of your type rating. Siraj B, any chance of a flight to Gibraltar? Yeah, sure, we need to go there. We need to go to Samos, which someone's requested. We still need to go to Innsbruck. We've only ever been in Europe, or no, we did go to Dubai once in a stream, but we do need to visit America. We've got the world, guys. A lot of places we need to cover. As I said earlier, I do intend to fly the 200 from FlyJSim on one stream as well. Just be fun. I thought I'll just fire it up. I think actually the first time I'll fire it up is when we stream, so you can watch me absolutely hopelessly try and work this aircraft, which is very different to a modern day aircraft. There's no conventional navigation display, there's no FMC, you have to navigate using conventional navigation on VORs and NDBs, and we'll try and do an IFR flight doing that in a 200, which will probably end up with us hitting the side of a mountain, but we'll try our best. Be interesting to see if I've still got some good instrument skills to go there. I certainly teach FMC failures where you lose the ND in the sim and know how to navigate IR that way, so yeah, it could be fun. Mystery Scythe, go to Mahon. Yeah, that's not too far away from where we're going today. We could go there to stream too. Kuma Scythe, why don't pilots land with flaps to full on every landing? Why don't they use flap 40 all the time? Well, as I was mentioning to, I don't know if it was you or someone else earlier, flap 40 is just going to decrease the lifespan of the flaps. It's a higher fuel burn. It's not the most optimal setting. It's also a little bit more difficult to land with flap 40 in the real aircraft than it is with flap 30. So we default to 30. We use 40 for performance reasons too. Richard Nash, seeing you operate a 200 will be fun. Yeah, I know. You'd be better at it than me, I think, with your upcoming instrument rating. Yeah, definitely. Tim Fraser making a little more progress on the scale model panel. Listening to the stream, awesome. So Tim, guys, he's been a member for, what does it say now, for 4 months. He's been really supporting my channel, answering lots of questions. He's actually making a scale model of the flight deck to sim paint scheme for me. So he's making a model of it, I don't know, to pop on my desk, which I'll take a picture of that because eventually that will look really cool. I don't even know how you get around to doing that sort of stuff. Long time since I made any models, but I do actually. Looking up at my office, I've got a model of the Concorde, which was Airfix I made about 3 years ago, and a 737-400 from Britannia Airlines, but nowhere near the skill in which you can model out. So some of the pictures you took, which is cool. Excellent. So here is in Noba Point. We're going to be there in 1 minute. Let's do a fuel check there. Chance in Noba 370, 5.7 left, and we burned 2.9. We've got 5.9, yeah, so that's close. I reckon it'll be 5.8 by the time we get over there. What did we say for the burn? 2.7. I can't even remember now. 2.9. Let's have a look. 1.42, so 2.84, bang on. The fuel burn, there's no issues with the fuel burn now. I've had loads of messages in, the fuel burn's not working, it's inaccurate, what's wrong with it? As far as I can see, it's spot on what I'd anticipate we'd have with the LEIB OFP. And as I said, the LEIB OFP, which you get from SimBrief, is as accurate as it gets. It is the same as the flight plans we get. Daniel Lambari, is the step climb available for ZIBO and the FMC? I don't think so. Maybe it gets implemented. We're a little bit too heavy to step climb today, so I can't test it if we go to 3.9. James Donlin, can you explain how you select which auto brake we use? Yeah, we'll do that later, because I've actually, for the first time, I've done the landing performance calculation on the Boeing onboard performance tool. So when we do the setup later, I'll explain how we select auto brake. It's basically, you want to try and choose your auto brake setting to vacate at a certain point on the runway, a certain high speed exit perhaps, or something. So we just want to manage it accordingly. So many variables involved. Russell Abdul, make sure you do a PA. Yeah, we could do a PA as well. Peter, I think fuel burn on idle descent is not accurate, that's why. Yeah, we'll have a look at that, because we should be burning maybe 300 to 500 kilos per engine at idle thrust and flight idle. But I've not actually monitored that. Either way, Tim Fraser, or Twerkster as he's known on the X-Plane forum, he's done a fantastic job in making it look, well, it is spot on pretty much. I don't know how he does it. Assad Kanso, how much till top of descent? What was it, 26? So yeah, a little over 50, a little under 50 minutes, about 45 minutes until we initiate descent there. It's quite a long sector today actually. I generally try to keep the flights less than an hour and a half, but it was about 2 hours. I don't know why I actually chose this sector. I think Salzburg's just pretty, and Ibiza we've never flown into, so I thought it was quite cool. Cool sectors. They're two very popular destinations people like to fly into on a desktop simulator. And I certainly had a couple of people that wanted to see me fly to Ibiza, so that's why I chose it. PJ Trotz, since we don't have access to the OPT, do you have any rules of thumb for auto brake for a reasonable guess? There is no rule of thumb. There might be some table you can access online. Prior to the OPT, when I started operating, we still had performance tables, and it's a very simple table. If you've got a copy of the FCOM, it should be in there. So it's just a table which requires you to do a bit of interpolation, to calculate your stopping distance per auto brake setting. So again, we could look at that in another stream, but I haven't uploaded the table onto the iPad today. Peter Collette, I've noticed the real thing that Airline 1 is a bit higher. The ZIBO is fixed at 28%. Well, it shouldn't be fixed at 28. The N1 idle, flight idle, can vary considerably based on your altitude. It can be as high as 30-40%. As you get lower, generally the idle, flight idle changes, but it's not always the same. It's not fixed. Again, it's something we don't consciously look at whilst flying. We're monitoring the flight path navigation. I'm not consciously looking at the N1 indications with idle selected, so I couldn't actually tell you. There's so many variables: temperature, pressure, airspeed. Perhaps the DEC vary the N1 accordingly. James P, have you watched the Man from McCann programme? No, I haven't. That's not my sort of cup of tea, if I'm perfectly honest. The Formula 1 documentary on Netflix I want to watch, but again, I haven't had the time to get round to doing that. So I wish they'd fix these juttery clouds. Again, that's an issue with X-Plane, I've been told. I thought it was with my setup, but no, it's a common issue. These little glitching clouds. There we go. Awesome. So, let's have a look at the map. Right, along the coast now. Beautiful. Coming overhead, Monaco. Brilliant. But a bit too cloudy, unfortunately, to see anything out the window today. It's a shame. If I'd streamed any of the last days over the last week, it would have been really clear to see there. And I've got, who's coming with a membership here? We've got Joseph Nappik coming in with the membership and the dedicated support to the channel. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate all that. I'll catch up with you on Discord later. Pedro Diaz, lately I've had problems having smooth landings. I think the problem is I'm flaring too late. Do you have any tips for the Boeing 737 or landing in general? I have a tutorial. It's actually one of my most popular videos on how to land the 737. It was in the PMDG, but it still applies the technique in the ZIBO mod. It takes some getting used to and some fine tuning, but I'll send you the link to that now. 130,000 views. It was my most popular video, but I can understand why people want to see that sort of stuff. I've got another donation coming. Oh my goodness! But yeah, here's the link to the landing tutorial. And who's coming in here with another tip and donation? Max Fernschak with a whopping £20 donation through Streamers. Thank you so much, buddy, for the tip and donation there. That's very, very kind. You always donating as well. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Nice one. Well, that could go towards the FlyJ sim, which I've already bought. Awesome. Matthias, what's your company policies regarding riding a jump seat? I've tried contacting various airlines wherever I was going somewhere. Hasn't paid off yet. Well, I think you'd find it quite difficult because you'd have to have an ID, a company ID card. Certainly where I work. Now, you can have, with the chief pilot's permission, an ability to do that, but it must be with a family member, a friend, or an explicit, you know, a relative who's there. So if I wanted my brother, father to come with me, I couldn't just say, "Oh, come with me on the day." You'd have to apply to the chief pilot, get a security discretion. It's quite a lot of work to be done. But if you're a general member of the public, it'd be very difficult to, unfortunately, to get a ride on the jump seat. But I think there are ways of doing it. Again, I'm not too clued up on how to do that. Perfect. Awesome. Audio Bed XP's done lots of little tweaks in the flight deck now, so it looks fantastic. I think the level of detail in here now is absolutely fantastic. And we don't have this light in our aircraft, the lavatory. But I love all the little worn marks. It's spot on, you know. Yeah, we don't have this in our 800, like a lavatory smoke light. We do have smoke detectors there, but they don't illuminate any lights in the flight deck on our aircraft. Perfect. So what we start doing, we'll start getting all the stuff set up. I want to get the latest weather in Ibiza, because it was a little bit in between the two runways there. It could be either 06 or 24. At the moment, 1007, so yeah, it's very much likely to be runway 06 in Ibiza. Nice weather though, 320 at 1007, clear skies, 15 degrees, 1004. Yeah, warmer in Salzburg than it was Ibiza when we left, which is bizarre. Awesome. And there is the Principality of Monaco. Wish I had the funds to live there and watch the Formula 1 each year, but unfortunately not, maybe in another life. Anyway. Cool, pretty much rest of it's over the Balearic, the Mediterranean, flying over Menorca, Palma, and there is our destination, Ibiza. The airport just to the southwest of the islands. Just here, I think. There it is. Perfect. So, I'll do... in Ibiza's code, and we'll just select the charts we'll need for later. Start. It was going to be, get rid of the Salzburg charts on my own iPad. It's the Palenza for Victor. So I always try to open the charts in the order you need them. So starting off with the star. Where is the Palenza for Victor? There we go. That's all the arrivals for runway 06. After that we need the approach charts.
50, 40,
We've got another donation in. Steaming Spoon 60. Oh, some of these names are awesome, crack me up, love it. Hey Flight Sim, could you explain how holding at a particular radial works and how it's programmed into the FMC? Keep up the good work. I will do in a second, because I just want to say thank you very much to Noah Featherstone, who's also come in directly as a new member. Thank you very much for the dedicated sports channel. I'll kind of show you on the Discord later. Oh Christ, got all sorts of things going off in the background as well. I've got Clearmo277 coming in as well with a donation, £8.58. Thank you very much. What about this flight? Kenya, is that Miami to that? Oh, is that Saint Juliana, the one with the beach flight? I think that's the approach there. Do that, and also the departure from there as well. Runway 10 is also nice. Oh, well, that would be quite a cool sector. I think that would be quite a nice way of doing our first flight in America. But thank you very much for the donation. I'll take that into account, your request as well. As I said, I've got a lot of time for May too. Now, Steaming Spoon, you asked about how holding on a radial works and how it's programmed into the FMC. Well, I do have a holding tutorial which kind of explains that, but let's imagine, oh, where are we going into any VORs? Well, it'd be very unlikely, but you can see how this VOG VOR, or Valenga, or whatever it's called, you would never be told to hold them. You might do on a radial distance from this, but we're currently on the 220 radial. Now, if ATC said to us straight away, Flight Deck to Sim, hold on the 220 radial from Valenga at distance 120, you could put that in the FMC, you could do it manually, you just turn right onto that heading and then do turns. Now at this altitude, I think it's 1.5 minutes you'd have to hold there, but that's what you'd have to do holding on a radial. As I said, I've got a tutorial, which I have on holding. If you search for Flight Deck to Sim holding tutorial, it goes into a lot more detail than this brief explanation on how to hold there. And most holds are usually based off either a beacon or a radial off a beacon there, so that will discuss it there. Excellent. Hugo, the Discord, is there a ZIBO Discord? Well, ZIBO has a private Discord for all the testers and stuff, which we use to chat to him. I have my own Discord, but it is exclusively for the members only, so I have a chat with them. It's just to provide these guys, you know, I don't ever request or don't need or want or any money, but it's just something I get back for the content I provide, and these guys are willing to spend a little bit each month to help that, and with that they get a members only Discord. We've got a nice little group going now. We just chat amongst ourselves what content they want to see. They can ask whatever questions they want. I have good friends of mine in the Discord as well. I've got a 787 first officer, I've got guys training on their instrument rating, who they're all personal friends of mine who help provide this kind of experience. So yeah, I'm afraid it's for members only. Feel free to join if you so do wish. But I do try and respond to comments still on the channel, but it's getting to the point now where I get so many comments I can't or don't have the time to respond to everyone. Anyway, I digress. Dr. Monday, estimated time to top of descent, it is going to be 27, so about 40 minutes from now. 40 minutes. Just over the Mediterranean. Let's see. Good. Anyway, a bit distracted there. Lots of questions coming in, and then a new membership and tips, so thanks for that, guys. It's going to be ILS and Zulu for 06. There we go. Now they've got two. They've got a procedural arrival here, but they've also got this ridiculous point to merge arrival as well, I think, which is all the way out to Demev, which is most likely what we're not going to do. But we'll discuss point to merge arrivals in a second too, which I have discussed already. Kim Brunswick couldn't find the Discord link yet in the community post though. Yeah, Kim, if you make sure you have Discord, and if you have Discord already, it should automatically synchronise. I think it's after 5 or 10 minutes, and you should get the invite automatically. If you don't, I will chase it up after the stream, and I'll put a community members only post up inviting you to the Discord. But you should be able to get in through that way. Yeah, as Stuart's just mentioned, link your YouTube account to Discord, and then you should get you should see me pop up there. That's how it works. Cool. So it looks like Active Skies stopped drawing all the weather again, but it is Cav OK over Ibiza, so it might be sort of representing what we can expect to see. So I'm not 100% sure, because we did have an issue last. There it is. It's just redrawn the weather. Redrawn the weather. Cool. We need that. We need that, and then we'll need the aerodrome chart as well. Oops. Just yet. No, that's Salzburg. Salzburg. Search. Why why is that coming up with Salzburg here? Yeah. Ibiza, perfect. And one airport. Construction work there, but we don't worry about that. Sim, airport info, and we want the taxi charts as well. Oh no, I don't want 2 Whiskey 1-4 wherever that is. So, oh, there we go. Airport parking stands. It's perfect. So I don't know why that's over there. Close this one now. So we've got the star, the approach, aerodrome information, and taxi. That's the sort of order you want to keep in there. What do the X-ray Yankee Zulu arrivals mean? Fair has just asked. So that is something that has been asked quite a lot. It's to do with the fact that they have different arrivals based off different beacons or approach aids or different missed approaches as well. How do we know which one to select? It's usually from a document we have which can tell you what you can anticipate. Also from the ATIS they'll tell you which one is in use, but there's slightly different changes. Most commonly it's that the missed approach or the approach is based off a different beacon. Quite common in Spanish airports. You usually get different types of approaches available. So yeah, different beacons for different procedural approaches typically is why you have different choices. I just know from experience it is the ILS Zulu for runway 06 most commonly in use. Oliver Cole, Flight Deck Sim News, stated today the crew used every procedure to fight MCAS trim condition, as I understood the switches on the pedestal cut power. Now, I'm not going to talk too publicly about the issues with this system or what happened, because it's all still speculation at this position. Let's just say it's probably a good thing that Max is grounded whilst Boeing investigate this issue, and if it is an issue with this MCAS system, or the fact that this crew did use the stab trim cutout switches, they follow the correct procedures and move this cutout, but it still drove the plane to ground, that's an issue. So let's hope that they do find the fix that issue so the Max can be flying again, because I do believe inherently it is a safe aircraft. It's just this system which is designed for safety isn't doing what it's designed to do, unfortunately. Anyway, that's that. James and P, does wing anti-ice automatically turn itself off? Yes, it does when you are taking off, and the air-ground logic, as soon as your airball goes to air, it automatically switches the wing anti-ice off, and that's for climb performance in the event of an engine failure. You don't want to have the wing anti-ice on because it's using some bleed air demand, which decreases engine performance. Awesome. So, we're still miles away. We'll probably start setting up around 150 miles away or something. Matthias Smith, ever been so performance limited that you've had to kick off some passengers? Before we'd ever do anything like that, we'd first check if there is an issue. Now, what the company would rather do, I've never had to do it, is that before you kick off passengers and fuel, is actually take less fuel and do an en route stop. And that does very, very rarely happen, but it can actually happen. Typically flights plus 4 or 5 hours, you might have a really strong headwind, fully loaded cargo, and that you haven't got enough fuel in the tanks to get there. And I have heard of it happening. I know a friend of ours had it happened. That you've actually, 2 hours en route, had to stop, uplift more fuel, and then carry on to the destination. But it's just, it'd be unlikely. But yeah, I've never had to do it. Thankfully, the 800 or the NG has a lot of excess performance, very powerful aircraft, so it is capable of lifting a lot of weight there. Dennis Esteves, let me say this right, sorry, Esteves, thank you very much for the £4.99 tipper donation. Thank you for the streams. Do you enter average wind at each waypoint, and how is it different to the top of climb wind? Very, very good question, because it's something I don't do in my streams. We should do correctly. Now, if you remember on the pre-flight setup on this page here, on the takeoff page, oh, well, that's a glitch. Hold on, index takeoff, but it's gone to the cruise, so you should be able to access, even though you're airborne, the takeoff page still, where you get the initial winds here. Now, we put the top of climb wind in here, and what you should do then is on the route data page, the first waypoint after top of climb is just put the average wind off the OFP. So if we go to, I never do it, I should do really. What's the average wind? It was 247 at 37. All you do is on this page, put it here, and it should update all the rest of the winds, and it'll give you a far more accurate ETA. There you go. Execute. You're meant to do that during the setup. I never do in live streams, to be fair. So you put the top of climb wind to allow VNAV to give you an accurate climb speed, and then the average wind, just for an accurate fuel burn and ETA, you put on the route data page on the next page. Blah, blab, lab, la UK. My best efforts at pronouncing that. If I was a real pilot, I would never stop worrying about running out of fuel. Well, obviously, yeah, fuel equals time, but the flight plan has contingency built in. If you take standard fuel from the flight plan, it's more than enough, and if you need extra fuel, say for any reason, operational reasons, weather, you just take it, and the captain has the ultimate final say on how much fuel is taken, not the company, as some people speculate or believe. It's always the captain. Big Jones. I love the ZIBO. Do you ever fly with noobs as first officers for some flight pointers in a 737, like personal lessons? No, I don't fly with any noobs. Actually, generally speaking, the guys straight from flight training, out of the type rating, they're much more proficient because it's all fresh, the procedures in their head. Actually, from the last month or so, I'd say those guys are very turned on. There's some things that they lack with experience, you know, seeing certain things, especially with descent planning and management. But no, I've only ever had to make minor input as a captain so far, just sort of doing flaps here. But generally, I leave them to it. I let the first officer, you know, if he wants flap 1 now, he can have it. Otherwise, you're never going to learn when is the correct point to select flaps. So long as they don't operationally break any limits or never let it get to a point of where a go-around would be needed or any issue like that, you know, I generally let them get on with it. As most captains did when I flew as well. Apple Mac OS X, why no VATSIM today? Because there's no ATC coverage on this sector. And secondly, I didn't want anyone spamming me, which is, well, actually didn't happen last stream, but the previous stream before that was some absolute inconsiderate arsehole decided to spam my stream and message me profanity in the chat. So I will avoid it where possible, but I will use it if there is ATC. So where are we now? Bativ. Just over the Mediterranean now, I think. There we are. Not much to see. So next will be Menorca, Palma, and then Ibiza. Alternate today is Barcelona. So if we had any problems whether we divert there, we'll probably go to Alicante, which is closer. Wicked. James Donnan, does your airline have heads-up display? Nope, it's not installed to our fleet. Cole Oop TM Mama, sorry for surveying us, so has ZIBO stopped supporting Linux? Not my area expertise, I have no idea, I'm afraid. Fair, how does the RC120 version of the mod run and what's new? If you put exclamation mark ZIBO, you'll find out, and it seems to be working A-OK so far. The departure was nothing to report here. It's a bit of a test flight for the mod really, but it seems to be performing A-OK. Hankamoody, Palma is more beautiful and explained than Ibiza. Well, we'll be flying right over Palma, so hopefully enjoy the views on the approach. We're going to Ibiza. Finley, ETA, descent's about half an hour away, touching down at around 17:56 Zulu. So about an hour now. We'll be greasing it in, I think the term is people use. I know it's what they use. Or hammering it down, we'll see. Oh, sorry, Kyle, you pronounced your name Kyle, my apologies. Marcelo, do you use any plugin to change the aspects of the clouds? I've just got Active Sky installed. I'm not using any other plugin to adjust or fix the clouds as of yet. I'd like to keep a reasonably clean installation as well, so all the plugins I have here, which is also to put exclamation mark plugins, are here. So Avitab, Squawk Box for VATSIM, pushback, better pushback, head shake, which gives you a little bit more immersion. Not sure what that is. RAS, Zurich, terrain radar. Just from seeing some other streamers, they've been running into issues, and I think it's usually because they've got so many things installed on their system. I like to keep it reasonably clean, and since I've streamed, I have never had X-Plane 11 crash. I've streamed now, I don't know how many streams now, 24, maybe just over 12, I don't know. Never crashed. The sim has never crashed for me once, and I've now probably got a few hundred hours in the sim. That's why, another reason why I quite like it. It's very, very stable. Finley Barford, do you ever get bored of flying the 737? Absolutely not. Love it. Long flights, not as enjoyable. I prefer shorter days. Over 2 hours, I'm always a bit itchy. You know, oh, let's go flying. I'm flying. I'd rather actually do 4 sector days with kind of hour and a half flights. Tom T, do you have keybinds to your camera positions? Yes, they're based on the number pad. Can I share it? I've shared it to my Discord. Now, I need to put this on my Facebook page so everyone can get access to it. Yeah, but I'm happy to do that. I'll try and remember to do it later. Mattia Marchetta, hi Flight Sim. What are your thoughts on Alitalia and its current situation? It seems like it's again near another crisis. I don't know. I don't really keep up to that much on the airline industry. I wasn't aware they were in problems again, but I don't know. Is it government ran? I have not sure if they've bought out the airline or support it. No idea, I'm afraid. So I can't actually say what I think on that. Vanilla Sky Game, my sim crashes almost every second flight for some reason. I don't know what that's all about, but you might want to post on a forum. Someone might be able to help you out. Matthew Schmidt. Now the real question, will Lewis Hamilton take pole in China? I don't know. China is quite high speed, so I think it's going to favour the Ferraris. I reckon it'll be either Leclerc or Vettel. I think if Leclerc pips Vettel again, it's going to be interesting for him. He's not so much the #1 guy anymore. Apple Mac OS X, where are you based? In the chat I read you're based in Alicante, but you sound very British. Well, I was based in Alicante a few years ago. That was my first base at the airline I worked for. But I am now based in the UK, and I am very British. Do I sound very British? Well, I don't put an accent on, it's just my voice. Very good. Lawrence Smith, where's the push to talk button on the 737? We've got this. This is a operator-specific mic button, which we don't use in the airline I work for. Otherwise, it's on the back of the control column, just here on the captains. It's on the left-hand side, on the back of this. On the FOs, it's on the right-hand side. And the trim is, oh no, the other way around, trim's there. Trim's on the left for the captain, and the push button's on the right. And it's opposite, so when I moved to the left-hand seat, I kept trying to talk to ATC, but there's no button there, so it does take a bit of getting used to. Finley Buff and cup of tea and a scone. That is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Representative, what's the word? I can't remember now. Stereotypical, that is very stereotypical British comment, that is. Very posh. Not really. I didn't sound like this when I was selling chickens, put it that way. Sound very posh. Love it. And Paul Emerson is rolling on the floor laughing. Outstanding. Ifran Ahmed, can you download the flight data sim livery for ZIBO? You can. It's in the YouTube. If you go on my community post, it's there. Very kindly made by Michael Fogelman, who made that for me free of charge quite a while back, and it's actually been tweaked slightly by AudioVert XP. Perfect. So nice and smooth. You'll notice my frame's improved as well. Generally, when I'm flying over terrain, a lot of clouds, the performance drops off slightly. What am I doing now? About 38, 40 frames per second, which is fine. It's stable enough to stream with. And remember, on my PC I run everything, so I'm running X-Plane 11, Active Sky, the streaming software. It's all on one PC, and it's generally doing a reasonably good job. Pumia Udrio, wouldn't you mind doing a face reveal? It's been rumoured that I don't even have a face. I just wear a helmet all the time, like the Stick used to. Raylo 1410, what is your dream plane to fly? It's got to be the Spitfire, genuinely. Absolutely love to fly that aeroplane. Dennis says, you mean you were selling flightless birds? Oh, it's very well known, yeah. My previous job was selling chickens. Genuine truth, my previous job before becoming a pilot was selling chickens. Cooked chickens at a very well known UK supermarket. Captain Slovenia, do you have threaded optimization on or auto in NVIDIA control panel? Absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. I think it's just, I've literally just plugged and played the sim. I think I did do some tweaks. I think someone told me to change something in the settings, but I did that and I didn't notice any change. Hank Moody, firstly, love the Californication series. I hope you're doing well. Is there different input lag in reality of the yoke, or is it more reactive? In the real aircraft or the sim? Because in the sim it feels pretty good. In the real aircraft, there is no input lag. But with my joystick, I'm using it's pretty good. The reaction's pretty good. Stuart Walsh, apparently the 20 RTX graphics cards are good for single PC streaming setups. Yeah, I might upgrade then just to get slightly better performance. So I've got a 1080 and it's fine. I've got most of my settings on a mid to high and it generally does a really good job. Guillaume, sorry if I pronounced this incorrectly, is it Guillaume Lementek? Hello, did you already try flying in virtual reality? I think you would like it a lot. Now, this is something I would like to try. During a stream, probably not, because it's not going to give you the best, I don't think, view. You know, if I'm in virtual reality, you're going to see it looking a little washy. I've been told it's brilliant. I'd like to give it a try, and I'm planning, if I can, if I get the time off, to go to the Cosford Flight Sim convention show this year if I can get the time off work, and I'm sure they'll have VR there. I'll give it a try. Yeah, it's something I think it provides a lot of immersion and looks really good, but not too sure about it. Shit, well, it could be for marketing, of course, so don't take my word for it. Yeah, we'll see. If I start getting big performance drops, I'll invest on another graphics card. But at the moment, it's providing a good enough experience, I think, for you guys. Finley Barfoot, which stick do you use, and does it annoy you when your aircraft has a yoke? Which stick do you use? Well, I guess you're referring to the joystick for this. It's a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro. It's very different to the yoke, obviously, but the inputs I make are comparable on a joystick to I would on a yoke, so it's fine. So yeah, it's no issue then. Hassan Haider, are you a real pilot? Very common question, and I can fully understand if you didn't believe me. If yes, how is life? Short haul, long haul, how overlays? So yes, I am a real pilot for a European operator. I've just been promoted recently to captain. I've got about 60 hours pilot command, about 4,000 hours total flying experience. How am I? I'm absolutely fine. Feeling very good today, thank you very much. It's short haul and I don't do overlays. No planned overlays. Captain Slovenia, do you use Pilot Edge? I think that's the American pay-per flying subscription service. I've never used it. I've seen it and I've seen people use it. It looks much better. The voice codec is a lot clearer. Yeah, we might try if we go over to America at some point. So, yeah, some streams I like doing offline, so I can be a lot more chilled out and relaxed. Don't need to listen out and read the comments. And VATSIM's audio can sometimes vary considerably. It could be my setup, it could be the headset other people are using. Generally, it's medium to poor. So, I do fully understand, appreciate they are improving that for the near future. Awesome. So how long now? 178 miles. We better start plugging some stuff in the FMC. Generally, in the cruise, in reality, I do around 100 miles before top of descent. Do a nice, slow, steady setup whilst we get ready. I have the Green Wizard 9 coming in with a membership. Thank you very much for the dedicated support to my channel. I'll catch up with you later on Discord. Really appreciate the thumbs up and support too. Thank you very much. Right, so here we are, on to the FMC. Descent forecast page, put the winds in for 310, 200 and 100. Forecast winds then from the descent page on the sim brief is 271 at 36. At flight level 200, 310, 200, it is 272 at 34. And flight level 100, it is 277 at 24. There we go, forecast QNH, I'll get that update on my telephone. It is now in Ibiza, QNH of 1004. Ice deviation, it's 14 degrees, 15, yeah, we'll leave it blank. You also meant to take the average of your cruise, but it's going to make very little difference today. That's a little bug, there shouldn't be a dash line there. There should be no dash line there, so we'll have to get that changed. Oh, here's all the fixed rings from the departure, we definitely don't need those now. So we're planning on landing on runway 06 in Ibiza. Pop in a 10-mile ring. 4-mile ring because it's going to be VMC and 3 times your height, so it's going to be 37, so 4, 8, 12, oh my maths, 108 I think. Should do us. And that should roughly coincide with our top of descent point, I think. Alright, so wait, a little bit off, but I think that's to do with the arrival, so that's just to increase situational awareness with regards to the arrival there. That's it. So descent forecast page, fixed rings are in for the ILS approach. Now need the charts. Just the airport. There we go. So top of the briefing strip, that's the important one, 1111. Oh, someone sent me a message the other day saying, do you need to set the navigator in both boxes for the ILS to work? Now, technically not. You could just tune the captain's side and have his flight director on his course and use a single channel ILS that way. The reason we both do it is because you both want to have the flight directors commanding the ILS, so we both do, both sides are tuned and both courses are set, both sides as well. What's the missed approach based off? The India Bravo Alpha 17.8, so we'll put that on standby. Excellent. Sweet. Now we've got the inbound course of 062. And 062. Looks like the ADF's picked up a beacon. Look, it's pushed off to the right there, but I don't think there's any ADFs in, NDBs I should say, in Ibiza, so we can turn that to VOR. And we've got a height check at 4 miles at 1536, refer to the minimums. So we don't use Jefferson charts, the operator we use, so we call Navigraph, so they're slightly different outlay here. So the minimums, Cat C aircraft based on our final approach speed over the threshold, it's 259 feet, so it's slightly higher than standard, which is usually 200 AGL, so we'll set 259. There we go. It's taking some time to set due to such a high MFR rate we had in Salzburg. Oops. 259 is set. So that's pretty much all the stuff we need to input in the FMC MCP. Landing performance we'll discuss in a second as well. Nicola Anderson, in real life, if you accidentally lose track of the radio frequencies and someone... Oh, someone just lost you there. Someone being left without radio contact, how could someone on the ground reach you and tell you to dial on a certain frequency? Very good question. That's called PLOC, or what we call prolonged loss of communications. It's something you don't want to do, and as Oliver Cole has just correctly identified, you monitor this frequency 121.5. Now, if they have to call you up on this frequency, it's pretty embarrassing, and actually you have to file a report to explain what happened there. So we have lots of standard operating procedures to ensure that this never happens. We always monitor the frequency, check your volume, especially if you've been talking to the cabin crew, you want to make sure that the volumes are turned up. If no one has spoken to us after 25 minutes, we do a radio check to make sure that they can still hear us, and you cross something called FIR boundaries. So you imagine we were talking, in reality, if we were at this flight here, probably to the French, then to the Spanish. Now, at the point at which this happens over, this changeover occurs, it should be at a waypoint, and we put a fixed ring there to ensure that doesn't happen. Now, if you miss the radio call, you miss the call on 121.5, they can't get contact of you. Guess what's going to happen next? Well, they're going to send up a couple of fighter jets, and who's going to foot the bill? The airline. So you don't want to have to explain to your chief pilot why you had a couple of Mirages or F-16s on your wingtip. It's very embarrassing. Thankfully, again, touch wood, I never want to have happen to me. So yeah, that's to answer your question there. God Atom, when do you use radar and baro minimum? So baro minimums are minimum based off a height above the sea level. So that's what we set there. And radio is usually for auto lands, and that's based off a height above the runway threshold. So for Cat 2, Cat 3, you want to use radio, baro for Cat 1 or non-precision approaches. Again, it could be operator specific, so that's what we do here. Stuart Walsh, which would you choose if you could VFR visual approach or IFR approach to minimums? With regards to having fun, I'd rather do a visual approach, but with regards to what I'd do on a day-to-day basis, I'd probably elect for an IFR approach. Visual approaches you can do if the conditions permitting are there, but you are lining yourself up for issues. You don't want to accept a visual approach if you haven't briefed it properly, or if there's anything like terrain or obstacles. I'd probably refuse it. From the fact that I've got 100 odd people sat in the back who are paying good money to be flown, I'm gonna, especially now I'm in the left-hand seat, I generally go for the easier option. I think with a bit more experience and time, I'll happily accept or fly a visual approach. But yeah, it's something at a choice I'd avoid. Lee Cushing, I work for D&D, Department of Defence or something like that. Military MOD, I'm not sure. Spend a lot of time calling for aircraft for loss of comms. Yes. Well, if you call us, that means we have to file a report, but do it, especially if we've ignored you or we've crossed the boundary. So it's quite unprofessional. Steve Mayer, is this version of the mod going to be available after your stream, as I will be installing it tonight? Yes, ZIBO has already told me as soon as the stream is finished, 120 will be available public in the Explain 11 forum, so keep your eyes peeled. Wicked. Now, let's have a chat about this approach then. So what do we need to look out for in Ibiza? Well, I have my company's airfield briefing in front of me. It talks about you might get a windshear warning, you can expect shortcuts on the arrival, so we're going to plan for that. We have a 15 knot tailwind approval, but otherwise it's a reasonably straightforward airport. There's 2 ILSs on each end of the runway. It's a reasonably easy air place to fly into. Thanks guys. Distress and diversion. Excellent. I've never heard of that. That's really, really cool. Distress and diversion, never heard of that. So they're the main things you've got to look out for Ibiza. Now the arrival we are planning on flying here is the Palenza 4 Victor. Now, it's a bit of a mouthful, all of this. You've got RNAV approval, initial approachings, wait for instructions, direct to for radar vectoring, and look at all this. It's an absolute massive arrival. Are we going to properly fly that in reality? Very unlikely. However, we need to leave it in the FMC in case that is. And look at this, it sends you all the way out to this point here. I mean, I don't know how many miles out that is for the VOR. It's like 25 miles out, so it's probably not going to be flown there. Mystery Sci, thank you very much for the donation, £2. Do you think the ZIBO can help you get your ATOL? Is that your transport license or American term? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it could. For your initial flight training, you want to be sticking to light aircraft in the sim, but anyone that's on a recurrency training or doing their type rating, you can easily use the ZIBO mod, and I'd recommend it now to anyone on their type rating to help prepare. So yeah, certainly can. Perfect. So yeah, as I was saying, this arrival, very long, all the way to this this point here called... here, all is IB 927930, and then eventually to Demev. Now, if you look at the fix rings I've put in here, zoom in slightly. Look at this. You've probably seen this frequently on a lot of my approaches. This is what we call kind of like point to merge arrival here. It's very unlikely you're going to do this full arrival unless it's very busy and then they just sequence you off. What's going to likely happen is you'd probably get onto vectors, and then they vex you towards this waypoint here called Osnook. Now what we can do to help prepare for that is we can alter the FMC legs altitude page. You've already seen me do this before if you're a frequent watcher of my streams. But if you see here, you have all these altitudes here. Now, if we go from Cox's, if you look at Cox's, if we temporarily delete this restriction, you can actually see, well, VNAV's saying, if you want me to fly a beautiful arrival in idle descent, we need to cross Cox's at flight level 90. Now, if you end up at Cox's at flight level 90 and then you get a turn onto base leg, you're going to be far too high. So what we do in reality, this is exactly what I do in real life, is I temporarily modify the FMC. Where's the Osnabrück point? There it is. Just before Cox's, and see if we get a straight in what this changes to. So you can see now Cox's, and if we modify it to it, say we're going to get a straight in, look at it, says now 4413, and that's based on us taking this shortcut here, look, onto a 10-mile final. So what I'm going to do is erase that again, so we have the full arrival in case we have to fly it, and at Cox's we'll put that as a hard altitude, 4,300. There we go, we just ensure that it's above the minimum, 4,000, and now VNAV will lock on, ensure that we're at 4,300 feet at that point, and then we can accept a turn onto Osnabrück or a 10-mile base. So it's exactly what I do in reality. However, it's up to you guys. I can either do the full arrival, so we can see how LNAV VNAV works, or we can do the 10-mile final. It's up to you. I'm going to leave it as 4,300 for now. We can accept the turn, or we can stress test the mod, see if it complies with the restrictions. Completely up to you guys. I'll let you vote in the... I don't know how you can actually do votes in the chat. You think there is a way, but I'll see what you say regards to that. But I hope that makes sense nonetheless. So yeah, that's the full arrival. You've got multiple holds there. That way, if we don't get the direct 10-mile final, we can continue, albeit will be low, with the full arrival there and the approach. What else does it say here? Lots of holding points, very busy airport in the summer, obviously there. Cool, so this is the ILS approach then. Now there's two approaches. You've got the ILS Zulu, you've got the procedural approach where you go directly over the beacon. That's also an option you can fly, but very unlikely. Tim, I've told you this before. You remember, you provide so much support, now you just give me another £10, man. Very kind, dude. And you're making a model of my flight data sim livery. You're absolute legend, dude. Thank you very much. I'll catch up with you later on Discord. Oh, too kind, man. 10 mile. Oh my, here's all the votes coming in. So we've got 10 miles, do the shortcut, curved lines, long one, shortcut, full 10 miles. It's literally full arrival 10 miles, full arrival 10 miles. Full arrival's going to be above water Z. Yeah, let's go for the 10-mile final. I think that looks like the majority there. So we'll leave it in the 4,400, and then we'll do a direct turn once we're at beam. Tim, just a little thanks for the hard work and dedication, buddy. We'll absolutely no problem, my friend, no problem at all. So, ILS Zulu, this is the full arrival, sorry, the procedural approach, which would generally be an option if there was no ATC. Yeah, shortcut, as it's going to be more realistic, absolutely. So yeah, there's all the points coming in from the full inbound arrival, Demev, Tim Vod, but we're going to route direct to Osnabrück based on us getting a base leg vector from ATC. We then step through each point. Platform altitude then is at 2,000 feet. We intercept the ILS at 6 miles. That's going to be the FF06 point, so we just double check on the ND. It's always nice to identify which waypoint's which. So there's the 4-mile ring. You can see, yeah, that's about 6 miles, so that's all coded correctly, and we've got a hard altitude of 2,000 feet too. We then descend down a 3-degree ILS. We've got PAPIs, high intensity approach lights to look for. The missed approach then, it's pretty squiggly, but it gets us away from where we need to do. Climb on the heading to 800 feet, make a right turn, but not before 2 miles. Max 185 onto a heading of 173, and then we intercept the radial 122 until 7 miles, and we make a right turn on the DME arc, and then we go outbound to a hold, which isn't depicted on the chart. Left to radial 164 from Ibiza, hold at 3,000 feet. Now, you can read all that, as long as it's coded in the FMC correctly. You've got the 122 Golf point, oh there's 2 miles Golf, and then the radial point as well, and there's got Vector as well, crikey. Interesting. It's a little bit different, but I might have gone with a missed approach with the com failure, but if it's correctly set in the FMC, you could use LNAV as the missed approach point there. So that is all it. Perfect, so missed approach. Performance. Now this is something which I wanted to share with you today, because I've done it before on the stream. So we've got 4.2 tons on board. We're arriving in Ibiza with 3.5. To divert to Barcelona, we need 2.7 tons. Remember that magic figure I told you guys? 2.4 tons is the magic number in the NG. That's how much fuel we roughly burn conservatively each hour. So if we have 3.5 tons, we need 2.9 to divert. That gives us 600 kilos of extra fuel. 600 into 2.4 is 15 minutes. So we've got 15 minutes of holding fuel before we'd have to, if we wanted to divert, commit to diverting to Barcelona. And that's just taking standard fuel. If the weather's fine, that's enough time at least to hold and make a decision. We're going to burn 700 kilos, and that's going to be 60.5 minus that, so it's going to be 59.8 tons. That's our landing weight. Brilliant. So 59.8 tons. Now if I jump into the FMC here, iPad, or the EFL I should say, EFB, we go to Avitab, charts. I have taken a screenshot of the landing performance, and we based it off 59.5 tons. That was a good guess, wasn't it? 59.8, so technically I should update that to 59.8, but it's going to be negligible. So this is the landing performance page of the onboard performance tool, which I'm afraid isn't available publicly, but you see what you do. You punch in the information, Ibiza, runway 06, this is the standard missed approach climb gradient, which is 2.5%, dry runway, the wind off the METAR, 16 degrees QNH, planning flap 30, because it is a sufficiently long runway there, air conditioning is in an auto position, anti-ice is off, we're going to check all auto brake settings, there's no applicable non-normal checklists, auto speed brake, we're going to use the reversers, 59.5 tons, and you can see here is the landing data based on each auto brake setting. So you've got max manual, you can stop as short as 1,000 meters, incredibly, and these are unfactored figures for dry. In reality, it's going to probably be around that there. Max auto 1260, auto brake 3 1773, 2299, auto brake 1. So even auto brake 1, you should just stop before going off the end of the runway here. Gives you your approach speed, which you can cross-check in the FMC. So VREF 30 plus 5, 146. So we're looking for a VREF of 141. So let's check the FMC. There we go. 142. Excellent. So we're going to use flat 30 today. And the reason I've chosen to use flat 30 is because, as I said earlier, we try and use it where possible. And now, if we just briefly go to the charts, this is where it's important when it comes to selecting your auto brake setting. Close this, and airport. So we look at the runway length, right, it's 2,800 metres, and then we look at the exits. Okay, 06 we've got Foxtrot, and you have to actually use a bit of your little scale here and a piece of paper. I reckon Foxtrot's about just over halfway, probably around 1,700 metres. It's going to be pretty short, but doable. Golf's going to be around 2,100 metres or so. So let's check Foxtrot. That's the first high-speed exit. We try and vacate as soon as possible, depending on where you are. Runway occupancy is an issue at certain airports where it's very busy. So let's say Foxtrot, I reckon, around, conservatively, let's say 1,600 metres. Let's go back to the OPT. Landing. What does it say for auto brake 3? 1773. So what we'll do, we'll plan flap 30, auto brake 3, and we'll probably miss that high speed exit. If that's the case, doesn't matter, we can disengage the brakes and we can then vacate at the next exit, which wasn't the rapid exit taxiway, it was a 90-degree turn, if I remember, Golf, which is probably what I'd planned in reality, so we'll try that. Flap 30, auto brake 3, we'll use second detent reverse thrust as well. Cool. James Donlin, the OPT app would be handy. It would be, but again, I'm afraid it's something that cannot be shared publicly, which is a great shame, but I think there are some alternative performance calculators to use. So here's Golf. We'll plan to vacate Foxtrot. I don't think we'll make it. If not, we'll go for Golf. Taxi off then. It's a very simple taxi, in via Alpha or via Foxtrot or the full length there, and it's all self-manoeuvring stands like in Salzburg, so we'll taxi onto a stand in front of the terminal with the air bridge. Flight Executive Airlines, we invest in our customers, so we get an air bridge to disembark at the airport there. You don't get any walking in the airline I work for. Mark Sputnik, 8, what is that currency, CHF? I should know. You have donated before, I keep forgetting. Thank you very much, have a safe landing in Ibiza. Here's a tip for a cola in one of the expensive clubs, yes, a non-alcoholic beverage. beverage is a good idea. City Sim 737 has donated straight through Streamlabs, £6.32. Thank you very much. Happy landings, Captain. Cheers from Echo Delta Delta Mike. That's Germany. What is that? Munich? Is it? I can't remember, but thank you very much. We'll probably drop into Germany again in another stream too. Awesome, guys. You can tell I'm getting tired. These streams, man. All this information, I'm power packing them out there. Paul Emerson, what is second D10 reverse? It's the second position for the reverse thrust. Oh, as my PC tries to catch up with itself. Oh dear. Oh, that's not good. There we go. So there's three thrust reverse positions. You've got idle reverse, second detent, and max reverse thrust. Now, if you go on my Instagram, there is a post from probably about a year ago where I showed in the level D sim all the thrust reverse positions and the respective thrust settings. That would be the best way to look at it. That's giving you kind of all the tech info you need and how it works. So I'll try and fish that out for you as well later on Discord. Send that to you. Awesome, guys. I'm nearly out of breath. Excellent. Well, we've got everything complete. Performance is done. We're going to accept the shortcut. Here's Palma de Mallorca. Lovely looking out the window there. And there is the airport, actually. That was our first ever live stream, guys. Remember that? We did Manchester to Palma de Mallorca, landing on, was it 2-4 here, I think? 2-4 left. Very, very good. God, I've had a long way streaming, nearly 8-9 months now. Been a while there. Wicked. So once all the briefing's done, we want the applicable charts open. So airport, star arrival. We've planned for that shortcut, and we've got the VREF there. This is slightly different VREF display than we have at the operator. We just have 142. It doesn't show the flap display, but I think it varies. Cool. So we then read the descent checklist. Hand over back control to pilot flying. Descent checklist is here. So pressurization, make sure you got the land altitude set. That was 20 something feet, so we got 0 in the land out. Anti-ice is off. Approach brief and fuel we discussed. And IS and out bugs, we've got the minimums. QNH, we need to preset the QNH, that's something I forgot to do in Ibiza. This is a SOP specific at the airline I work for. We preset it there. There we go, 1004, and that's the descent check is complete. Look at that for timing. Reset MCP altitude. So we'll imagine flight sim request descent, and we'll go straight down to, let's say, flight level 200. When ready, 80 said when ready. So we could just set 200 here, and that will allow the aircraft to initiate descent automatically. That was me just moving my thrust on my joystick back to the idle position to ensure that we didn't get no thrust increase on the descent. Hank Moody, are you thinking about recording some approach landing in reality if your company allows you? Yeah, I'd have to request specific permission from the chief pilot. Probably won't, because it'll give away who I work for, which is something I don't wish to do just personally. It would be awesme to do that though. I would love to. I'll think about it, especially now I'm in the left-hand seat. But no, I need to express permission from the chief pilots. At the moment, I'll probably just be sticking to streams. But yeah, I'll see. I'll have a think about it. Devoid, what does it feel like being in a full-motion flight sim? If you're not used to it, a bit weird initially. We do often have, I say often, occasionally. Guys, when they start the type rating, can get a bit of motion sickness because, especially taxiing, it's very difficult to simulate the input during taxi, but it does a fantastic job in flight of representing the motion that's required there. That's why they cost about, well, brand new £8-10 million. So yeah, they're pretty good. But yeah, when you're instructing, it was a bit weird, but you just get so used to it, you can actually kind of predict how it feels a little bit. But they're very, very clever machines. How they accurately represent all the inputs needed, inputs made. Cool. So we're overhead, directly Palma de Mallorca, the Mike Juliet Victor VOR. Let's get some nice wind views. Ah, that's nice scenery. Look at that. Yeah, Palma, I think. Who said earlier, but I think it is also a prettier island than Ibiza. Ibiza is very yellow and deserty, so a little bit of green on Palma. Fantastic. Come on, we can't see the airport because we're directly overhead it. There it is, a little bit cloudy. There we go. But this is the favourite. This is everyone's favourite view. Such a cool view. I love it. You see the wind pushing us slightly to the left as well. 50 knots, that's not too much. Hello. So yeah, idle path descent, speed's running away a little bit. Not too bad, just keep an eye on it. In the real aircraft it's pretty good, like with the idle path descent it generally does stick to its target speed there. Steve Mayer, boss, first tutorial was about 2 years ago. Time goes quick. Yeah, first tutorial, but my first live stream was only about 8-9 months ago. Yeah, the first tutorial was... God, I look back at those, they were rubbish. I really don't like them because I had no idea on how to edit videos. I had my rubbish old laptop. I thought I'd just give it a try, do a bit of fun. I just started my job as an instructor. I thought it would be a good way to kind of practice certain procedures. And yeah, we've come a long way now. 26,000 subscribers now, unbelievable. It's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy providing this content. I do. Genuinely, when I'm flying at work, guys, I think, right, what should I do for the next stream? And I fly over a certain airport. I said that will be the destination for the next stream. The guys will love that. And I go, oh, that'll be quite challenging. Occasionally, I fly with a few first officers. They recognise the voice as well, which is already had a couple now, which is embarrassing. Blah 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 UK. Are the graphics a lot better than airline sim on an X-plane? No, the airline sim graphics are good, but they're not as good as X-planes. They don't need to be because they're a professional flight training device. We're generally in IMC most of the time. Actually, I did make a post on Instagram showing the graphics in a sim and comparing them to flight sim. They're nowhere near as good. But again, that's not what it's there for. It's to primarily train flight crew. There we go. We are joining the chart, and it starts at Nelux point for us. Oh, have I got the right? No, Palenza. We're eventually getting to Palenza for the arrival. So we're still on the routing here. Oh, crikey, where is Palenza? I thought I thought it started at Palenza this arrival. I definitely selected the right arrival. Palenza 4 Victor. Palenza 4 Victor. We're routing direct to Nelux, which here. Okay, fair enough. So this is the rest of the en route routing, but we're technically starting here at Nelux. Fair enough. I've seen that before. I'd probably be querying those in reality. James and me love the old tutorials with the memes that popped up. Yeah, just a little twist of entertainment. When I started streaming, I kind of had the impression of, yeah, I'll do a stream a tutorial. But especially now with the limited time I have, the tutorials, I love making them, and I still would like to do them. But it's very time-intensive work. You have to, with the editing, I'd say for every, I don't know, 15 minutes of video required, for me anyway, my skills, editing skills, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half of editing, if not longer. And you probably certainly noticed with the quality improved with the latter tutorials as it did with the first one. And that was just not from, say, the content, but my delivery was wrong when I started. It was too fast, a little bit intense perhaps. And it was just from feedback. You've got to start somewhere. Like with everything, you start small, make adjustments based on feedback. And streaming, I find it so much more enjoyable. From a personal perspective, it takes a lot less preparation, which, no, it's nothing I don't want to do. You know, I want to provide the ultimate experience, and I do. I spend about an hour before the stream getting all the flight plans, reading up on the airports to just provide the best professional experience I can. It gives me so much more, you know, I have less time available to me, especially now, and it's easier to live stream, and I think it's a lot more interactive with you guys, you know, with the questions and stuff. So yeah, I will probably be live streaming for the foreseeable future with no more tutorials. We'll see in May when I have a bit more time, because there are some things I'd still like to cover, which would be cool. There's so much I could cover though as well. Sapper Tapper 26, you don't sound old enough to be a captain. Yes, the stereotypical captain you can imagine in his mid-50s and his hat on, and with the cabin crew arm in arm. Not always the case, but yeah, I'm reasonably young. There are captains in the operator who are a little younger, but I am in my late 20s. Anthony Till, now you know how we feel learning the 738. Yeah, I can imagine. It is easy. Well, I say it's easy once you have a rough idea of what's going on as well. Excellent. So we should hopefully have some sunlight as well by the time we land, which is good. Perfect. So we can pop the seatbelt sign on. Now approaching flight number 150. And this looks good to me. Now, 3 times your height, take this with a pinch of salt, because that 88 miles represents that full arrival, which we don't anticipate. So you want to be, a really good rule of thumb is if you're downwind, being the landing runway, you're 90 degrees, you want to be around 5,000–6,000 feet AGL above ground level for kind of like a 10-mile final. That's a good rule of thumb to have at the back of your head. And with that point we put at 4,000 in the mod, it should work out well. And what we'll do, as soon as we approach Nelux, we'll step down to 4,500 feet. Jonathan Gerard, in the real 737, what is that, excuse me, highest rate of descent in the autopilot? This is the autopilot allowed to do. In the sim it goes as steep as 5,000 to 7,000 feet to catch the speed profile. Now 7,000 is a little excessive, but in the real aircraft, if you're high on profile and then accelerating in descent, you can get rates of descent in excess of 4,500–5,000 feet, and that's actually normal. You won't even notice that from the cabin. Climb the same, 4,500–5,000 feet. If you're light and you're slowing down in the climb, you can get rates of climb in excess of that. Over 5,000 feet would be, you wouldn't want any more than that, but 4.5 routinely you see in normal operations. Good. I always miss that in the stream. Always. 25 degrees bank angle. Very good spot there. Kasaka. It's usually done descending past flight level 300. Awesome. And there is, guys, Ibiza, party capital of Europe. I should think right now, as we speak, there'd be a lot of inebriated people in this area here. Yeah, Ibizas are always quite interesting with the passengers, especially on a Friday or a Saturday evening. They can sometimes be a little naughty, but generally speaking, they do as they're told. Perfect, so approaching Nelix, we can now step down to 4,500 feet, which is now set. We can now set the QNH as well, which is 1004. And we're past, oh, that's a bug. Look at that, we've got a magenta line above the screen. Whoops, that's actually the part there for the final turn, so that will no doubt be fixed there. So we're going to FMC speed. I guess that's, yeah, Taco speed was getting low, that's correct. But we should be approaching the decel point, and we should have a couple of green dots on the magenta line, representing the point at which we're reduced to 240 knots. We should put 250 below 100 here. Change that. There we go. So now it has updated the target speed now, that's fine. And what was the only other thing I forgot to change? Yeah, we've already got it 220 knots, that's fine. Perfect, so here's the decel point, we're descending to 250 knots. The profile's updated slightly, it shouldn't quite have changed as much as that. Himaj El Pira, I listen to live music from Ibiza on YouTube every Friday. Excellent. And it is Cav OK right now as we speak, so it is as it should be, I believe. So we're doing 1,000 feet per minute, that's correct, catching up the profile. Don't know why the profile updated to show us 600 feet low, because we were on profile. All looking good. Anyway, we could do the post-cruise checks as we're passing 10,000 feet, so fuel 4 pumps. Lights on, leave the taxi light off until we've got landing clearance. APU's off, pressurization 3.0 set. Check the seatbelt signs on, bank angles 25, recall, and then we'll do a PA to the cabin crew to advise them we have approximately 10 minutes to landing. Good. So, profile's still escaping us. It should be slowly coming back. It's only doing that. So what I'm going to do is just go VS 500 because we're not going to catch the profile. 1,000 feet per minute should be enough to recapture the profile there. It's a little bit low there. Yeah, got to keep it clean. Yeah, try. You know, there's a time and place for that sort of language. Certainly not here. I understand the humour, but try not to post something like that. Thank you. Who's asking about Ortho 4XP? Yes, Jans Verez, do you create Ortho 4XP tasks for a specific area or your flight path? No, I've got all of Europe actually, base level 17. A friend of mine, someone that follows my channel, who is really good at this sort of stuff, downloaded it, or helped me download it all, and install it for me. It took a very long time, a few terabytes of data there. Perfect, so we are now capturing the profile again. I'm not sure why 1,000 feet was enough, so we'll go back to VNav. Should go to retard arm. Just to arm. I've done that before. We should get retard first as we capture it. Not an issue. Perfect. So we're just holding on the approach checklist. We need some idents for that. And that little hard altitude we made, 4,300, should work out quite nicely for a 10-mile final as we get a turn there. It's exactly what I would have done if I was flying into Ibiza on this arrival today. And there is the airport. So the scenery I actually have is some payware scenery for you to enjoy. It's from Pilot Plus. It's on the X-Plane store. I built it a while back, but I've never been to Ibiza, so hopefully it'll still be a little bit of light for you to enjoy it. Ready play, guys. We hit the strip after we land. Yeah, we've got at least 16 hours rest before the next duty, so we can knock back a few. Perfect. So target speed's dropping off slightly. So I'm just adding thrust manually. Like I said, it should be pretty good at maintaining the target speed. It has been in the past. Could be a slight issue with the profile, the drag profile, but we'll have a look. Perfect. We can now step down to 4,000 feet, which is the next lowest altitude, so 4,000 feet. It's now set. There we go. So we're now back at our target speed, so the auto throttle's closed the thrust levers. And you can see that the speed's just coming back slightly, so it's not quite planned an idle path descent there. It shouldn't be coming back like that. It would do that if you had, say, a very different forecast wind. But yeah, I think the wind profile is pretty good, so it's just losing a few knots of the target speed. So I'm just going to add a little bit of thrust to ensure that we keep our target speed about 250 knots until we get to the decel point, which is here. That's the decel from 250 to 220 at Coxes, which is good. So remember what I told you, when you are beamed the airport, you want to be roughly at about 6,000 feet AGL to accept a 10-mile final. There you go, around 6,200. So you can see from a situational awareness descent planning point, you're in a good position for a 10-mile final here. If you're 8,000, you're going to be too high. If you're less than that, you're too low. And remember, that's AGL, so if you've got some elevation, you need to add that to your respective height, altitude. Perfect. Dennis, love it. Estes, if Ibiza's no good, divert to Benidorm. Been there a few times on the night out. I was based in Alicante. Wasn't my favourite, put it that way. Anyway. So we're just waiting for the idents for the ILS, which will be India Bravo India. So we're looking for Ibiza here. Excellent, there's the decel point. So we're now decelerating to 220 knots. And as soon as we're overhead Coxes, I'm going to route direct to this Osnook point, and we'll see how well that 4,300 feet point is in there, and we'll probably just about select flap 1 before we turn base. You want to be doing around 180 knots on base leg. Awesome. Not long, guys. There is your destination. Oh, computers. Oh, hold on. Don't want to rest in peace. No rips. Alright, cool. So imagine ATC's now give us a heading. The heading's they're probably vectoring you now. We can descend to 3,000 feet. Ooh, my PC's really roaring now. There we go, 36 frames per second. Just had to catch up a bit there. Right, let's give it a try then. So if we... We'll probably be on a heading in reality. If we go now direct to Osnabrück, execute, and we'd be on the heading, it shouldn't be too far off. Look at that. So that you see, that's why we set that hard altitude there, 4,300 feet, and we're now going to go level change. And all I'm going to do is self-vector myself onto the approach, so just like ATC would do in reality. We'll bring the speed back to the up speeds. We'll select flap 1 now, bug flap 1 speeds. Good, so slight balloon, that's very normal. Actually, I noticed the other day, because I've always been quite critical of this, when you select flap 1, if you're doing a very shallow rated descent, the aircraft does actually level off, and the real aircraft too. So yeah, it's really realistic with how this handles. So I'm going to give myself a heading now of 90 degrees, that'll be around 332. We'll use vertical speed just to give us a nice shallow rated descent onto the ILS. We've got the idents now, so India, Bravo, India, so you do the approach checklist, check the nav age, check your fixed strings, you've got the idents, India, Bravo, India, and the courses are set to, and then you complete the approach checklist, so that's all good. Awesome. Nice over the sea. It's just about trying to pinpoint your position to intercept the ILS. We'll go flap 5 now, just to keep our speed around 180 knots, but we'll bug the flap 5 speed nonetheless. Excellent, and that would be a good position now to turn onto the ILS. So imagine we've been given an intercept heading of 020 degrees on that heading, cleared ILS approach, and we can descend to 2,000 feet. That's the next cleared step altitude. So I'm kind of... This is the sort of instructions you'd get from ATC onto vectors, and it's now just about using vertical speed to stay on the ILS glide slope. The position's good, no wind, nice and gentle. Just increase that a bit. We call this, when I was training, I called this VS to finesse. Just use the vertical speed to keep it right on the glide slope there, so when it captures, there's no abrupt pitch change. Excellent. Blue Lives, is this version released? It will be in 3 minutes time after we've touched down. ZIBO will release it as soon as the stream's finished. Right, so cleared approach, we can arm approach. Oops, that's not the fuel I wanted. There we go. Nice, there is localizer capture, seeing the way it's turning. So, localizer glide slope capture, runway heading 062, and the missed approach altitude initially was 2,500 feet, quite a low stop altitude actually. Wicked, so all good on the ILS, and we'll configure around 4 miles. Excellent. Look at it, it's perfect conditions, isn't it? Perfect. Oh, you guys probably want me to do something exciting like a raw data. Do you want me to disconnect everything, do raw data? Bit of practice. Let's do a raw data, guys. Let's have a bit of fun. Right, disconnecting the autopilot auto throttle. Flight director's off. This is something we do not practice in reality. We don't allow flight director off flying. The airline I work for, you can in the sim. So this is where you have to really carefully monitor everything. Your localizer, glide slope, look at your target attitude, look at your target IVSI. And this is quite good to actually practice in the mod if you are a real pilot, because it gives you a rough idea of what to look for. Probably won't configure at 4 miles because I have to match the speed and everything. So just making very tiny inputs. This is like the ultimate perfect conditions to do a raw data ILS approach today. So a little bit low on the glide slope, around 900 feet per minute at this speed, coming off the localizer slightly. We'll configure now, gear down, flap 15, match speed, landing checks the flaps, add a bit of thrust. Oh, this is where it gets hard. Start switch is continuous, recalls checked, speed brake, arm green lights, landing gear down 3 green, auto brake set to 3, just holding on the landing flaps. So getting a little bit off the localizer, you can see it's telling me to fly right. Good. We'll just select the landing flap at around 3.5 miles. Getting a little bit low the glide slope again, so we'll just set about 500 feet per minute. That's a nice descent rate to get onto the glide slope again. Ooh, there's 1,000. Just got to keep scanning. Localizer's good. Track's good to get back on there. We'll select flap 30 now, which is our landing flap. Match speed. Our target thrust setting, once we've got VREF +5, is going to be about 57%. This is, well, like I said, it's every approach. The mod, amazing. Like, the pitch power is just spot on. So good. Missed approach attitude is set, so we complete the landing checks, flaps, 30-30 green light, lights are on, checklist is complete. Let's go smash it into Ibiza. Taxi light on, there we go. So looking good. Target rate is set about 750 feet per minute today. Target thrust is bang on what I'd expect. Pitch power, spot on. The mod, amazing. I don't say this because I'm in the team. It is just so good. Like, it's amazing. Anyway. 2 reds, 2 whites, looking good. Pitching up ever so slightly. 500 continue, fully stabilised. Thank you, First Officer.
400.
This has got to be a greaser, guys. I just feel it. Looking good. Slightly off the localizer, so a little right turn here. Getting a bit low on the glide slope. Not really looking at the glide slope now, primarily looking outside.
Minimum.
Continue.
200.
A little bit low. That's alright. Speed's good. Over the threshold around 50 feet. Keep it coming down.
50. 40. 30.
Check.
20,
Close.
10.
Just hold the attitude. Keep the wings level. Where is it? Oh, a little floating. Oh, nice. Speed brakes up. Reverses. I love it when I do that in the sim. Go second D10. Oh, loved it. Well, it looks a bit tilted though. There's the first exit. Oh, we might just about plan it. All the brake settings are very good. Manual braking then. 60 knots. I didn't think we'd make it, but we did. And we can now vacate. Outstanding. Reversers can now be stowed. Stopping's been assured. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ibiza. The local time here is 7:56 in the evening. Thanks for flying Flight Deck to Sim Airlines. Excellent, we'll come straight in on Alpha. Landing lights can come up, and I'll do the first officer's actions, if I can remember them. Flaps up, reset the trim to 4 units. Weather radar off. Auto brake 2 off. Stow the speed brake, I've done that already. This we can set to 100 knots. It was better than my landings last week, guys, those ones. Excellent. Start switches. Steady. Probes. Recall. Excellent. Taxi inflow's done. Nice scenery as well. So pop on the APU, we'll get a replay on that one. I think that has to be my best landing on the stream. That was an absolute butter, I think. Isn't that the term? Butter, Lurpak. I see someone saying, whatever you say, utterly butterly. No idea. Brilliant. Yeah, the flare I did was nice. On the sim, I've noticed you have to, I don't know, the real aircraft you have to check a bit more. You have to put a little bit more back pressure. In here you don't have to put so much in the sim. I noticed that it is only a very small check, and it can be like that in reality too, depending on your approach speed, how many knots you are above VREF. There's quite a few, so many variables there, but it felt pretty good there. It was just a very slight check there. Oh, right, so I did forget the PA for the passengers. Never mind, they're all probably absolutely steaming drunk anyway, won't understand what I'm saying. Right, APU's coming online now. We can turn these lights off. We'll go for this stand here for the air bridge. Oh, where's the painted lines? Oh, I'm gonna have to kind of guess that. Oh, there it is. Perfect. APUs are available. Excellent. The only thing was, I only saw the landing rollout. It was a bit tilted. I don't know if that was the camera view I've got set up here, but I have no idea if there's any gate guns in. Nope. I think they're probably fixed air bridges. Ooh, crikey. Oh, this is a lot more sensitive. Ah, there we go. You can cheat here as well to see if you're on the nose line. Look. Can't do that in reality. Right, that should do us. I reckon around there. Excellent. We'll bring it to a stop. Good job. Parking brake set, 2 blues, 1 red, engines dead. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ibiza. Cabin crew disarm, slides and open doors. So pop the logo light on, as it is getting dark. I want to show everyone our wonderful livery. Anti-collision light off as well. Just do the transit flow, which is done there. That's pretty much it. Let's have a look outside. Brilliant. In one piece again. Yeah, the air bridge isn't coming over here. Look at that. Lovely. Lovely evening. Look at the sun setting as well. Times that to perfection. Awesome. So, I'll look at the video. Look at, just before we do the replay, I'll just like to read some of the comments because I absolutely love them. They absolutely crack me up sometimes. So, raw data. Yeah, everyone wants to see me do the raw data. Can we see the replay, Melvin? Yeah, I'll do that very shortly. Butter. Perfect. I would like the yellow stall eyebrow, more in-depth stall system on the PFD. Robert, you're absolutely right. I'd like that too. Kiss landing. That was pure lurpak. Buttery butter. Really nice approach to landing. Final flight. Yes, Scott Atom. That's it today. Margarine. Stephen Jenkinson. Find that Venga Boys C-Day in the glove box. I remember that. Oh god, I had that. What was that awful song as well? The Blue Aberdeen Would Die, but that wasn't Venga Boys, was it? Oh my god, classics. Yeah, ZIBO looks like ZIBO was true to his word. He's released 0.20. He always does that post stream, so he's released this version for you to enjoy right now. As you saw, it's a very stable version. It flew beautifully. Still some work to do on the curved lines, but hopefully we'll get that with you as soon as possible. Ready Player gets glow sticks at the ready. Absolutely outstanding comments this evening. Absolutely love it. Right, let's get to the replay. I always forget what this is. Toggle replay mode and everyone's favourite corny outro music. Excellent. Right, let's go here. Where are we here? 4,000 feet. Let's get a little bit closer than that.
2,500.
Get for the external view. I'll just keep it on fast forward for a second. There we are. Let's just see how buttery this was. Here we go. So over the threshold, it was perfect conditions. So I had no excuses really. Like, if I hammered it down or was off the centre line, I've got nothing in the bank to use, unfortunately. There we go. That's why I love this sim. This is just mega. Those sounds are so good. Look at that. So there's a little bit of wind maybe, I don't know. Oh, it could have been a little smoother maybe, I don't know. Less than 100 feet per minute. I know you guys are all obsessed with race to sit on the touchdown, but I don't know. Oh dear. Right guys, so we'll do what I usually do. We'll pop you in a nice little external view. That looks fantastic actually for you to watch on the approach as I sign out here. So guys, thank you very much again for the viewing, and I hope you enjoyed that live stream as well. Thank you for turning up. Regarding next live stream, again, it won't be in the next week or so. My next days off, I have a few things planned, but after the next block of days off, I hope to be streaming. So probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. If I get any spare time, I'll let you know on Instagram and on all the other social media feeds as well. So guys, thank you very much to everyone that tipped and donated and subscribed as members. I'll catch up with you later on Discord. I hope you really enjoyed the stream as usual. Any suggestions, keep them coming in. As I've said publicly now, it's getting a bit more difficult to reply to all the comments I get and messages on Facebook, but I do read them, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Guys, stay safe, enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you on another Flight Deck to Sim live stream in the very near future. Good afternoon.